come down to your f***ing houses, mate, and you, every fucking single one of you.
If you've scrolled through TikTok or Facebook over the last few years, chances are you've seen Mark Feely. At first glance, he looks like just another helpless individual getting confronted by angry strangers.
Yo, where you living, you little pedo? You little pedo bastard! You little nonce! You're lucky I can't smash you up, cause yo, man don't wanna go back to jail, you get me? But suck your mum. You're in Birmingham, bruv.
But when you look deeper, you uncover years of allegations, repeated predator stings, legal loopholes, and a case that has left many people questioning how someone surrounded by so much controversy has remained free for so long.
This, follow me and message me, ain't enough for the police, then what the f*** is this world coming to? This is disgusting, and this ain't on. This has to stop now.
And the deeper you dig, the more disturbing the story becomes. So if you have been living under a rock, grab a snack, because today I dive deep into the chaos of the disturbing return of Mark Feely. For years, one of the internet's most persistent rumours claimed that Mark Feely was dead. The story spread so widely that many people stopped questioning it. And by the end of 2022, thousands genuinely believed the man known online as the Norse of the North would never appear again. The false report can be traced back to September 29, 2022, when a Facebook page known as Predator Exposure published a post claiming, after hundreds of fake posts claiming Mark Feely's death, this one is unquestionably authentic. His body was found at the Wakefield Holiday Inn Hotel around 6:30 p.m. today. This hotel, which receives funding from taxpayers, was a place where Feely stayed. Goodbye, Mark Feely. And because the story matched what many people already believed about his living arrangements, it quickly appeared believable to readers who were unfamiliar with the facts. Unfortunately, the claim spread much faster than any effort to verify it. Smaller websites repeated the story without confirming it through police statements or official records, while TikTok creators and Facebook users shared screenshots of the death announcement as though the matter had already been settled. Within days, countless videos were describing Mark Feely in the past tense, and many viewers accepted the rumour without looking any further because it appeared to provide an ending to a story that had frustrated people for years. Hell, some were even celebrating upon hearing the news. As time went on, sightings of Mark Feely continued to emerge across different parts of England, making it increasingly difficult for the rumour to survive. By 2026, multiple reports confirmed that he was still alive, reportedly living in Birmingham under police protection, while continuing to maintain an online presence that regularly attracted both supporters and critics. His return to public discussion, therefore, was never really a return from death or disappearance. Instead, it was the realization that he had remained active the entire time, while many people simply assumed he was gone. Predator hunting channels, live stream recordings, and social media uploads continued documenting his activity, bringing renewed attention to a case that had never truly been resolved. As a result, every new appearance reminded viewers that the rumours had distracted many people from the fact that the larger legal controversy surrounding him had never disappeared. Something that remained one of the most debated parts of Mark Feely's case, because over several years, the Crown Prosecution Service has repeatedly declined to prosecute him for certain alleged sexual offences, citing significant learning difficulties and mental health concerns when assessing whether legal proceedings could move forward. Those decisions have generated widespread criticism from members of the public, although they do not amount to a declaration that the allegations themselves were false. Instead, they reflect the CPS's assessment of whether a prosecution could realistically succeed under existing legal standards, which has fueled continuing debate about whether current laws adequately address high-risk individuals with serious cognitive impairments. That legal outcome has led many critics to describe Mark Feely as effectively dangerous and untouchable, although the word reflects public frustration rather than any official legal status. For this reason, his case has become a symbol of what many campaigners describe as a gap between public concern and the criminal justice system, especially because videos of his behaviour have continued circulating online, even while prosecutions have remained limited. As long as those legal barriers remain in place, every new appearance immediately revives the same questions about accountability, public safety, and whether existing legislation is equipped to deal with cases that fall into such an unusual legal grey area. It is because of this that the death rumour gained so much traction, since many people desperately wanted the story to be over. And when it was confirmed that he was still alive, some people were very disappointed. But how does someone surrounded by so much controversy continue appearing online while the legal arguments surrounding his case remain unresolved? Even after years of public outrage, repeated predator-hunter confrontations, and countless reports to social media platforms, Mark Feely's online activity continued to raise alarm well into 2026, largely because his case exposed the uncomfortable gap between behaviour that many people viewed as deeply disturbing and the criminal thresholds required for prosecution. However, that legal distinction also shaped his online presence, allowing him to remain visible on platforms where new audiences frequently encountered him without knowing the history that surrounded his name. Much of Mark Feely's activity centred on live streams, where he spent hours talking directly to viewers through TikTok and other social media accounts, creating an environment that encouraged constant interaction with anyone willing to join the chat. Critics, online investigators, and several child protection campaigners argued that these broadcasts gave him direct access to users, especially since live stream recommendation systems could expose his content to viewers who had never searched for him. During many of these streams, Mark Feely presented himself as eccentric, unpredictable, or simply misunderstood, a persona that supporters sometimes defended, while critics believed helped reduce immediate scrutiny from casual viewers who were unfamiliar with his background. However, one of the biggest reasons Mark Feely remained online was that, despite years of controversy, he was not subject to a sexual prevention order that would automatically prohibit internet use or communication through social media. Those orders generally follow qualifying convictions or other legal findings, and because the Crown Prosecution Service repeatedly concluded that prosecution was not appropriate in his case due to concerns surrounding his significant learning difficulties and mental health, that legal restriction was never imposed. As a result, platforms could suspend or remove individual accounts under their own policies, but there was no broad court order preventing him from creating new profiles or returning online whenever previous accounts disappeared. This situation created what many observers described as a loophole, although legal experts often framed it as the consequence of criminal law requiring evidence that meets a very specific legal standard before imposing restrictions on someone's liberty. Nevertheless, predator hunting groups argued that the distinction offered little reassurance to families who continued seeing Mark Feely interacting publicly on platforms popular with people not of age, especially when clips from his live streams circulated across TikTok, Facebook and YouTube shortly after they were recorded. Critics also argued that Mark Feely carefully avoided making direct statements that they believed could trigger immediate criminal liability, while still making comments that many viewers considered deeply unsettling. Some investigators alleged that he frequently spoke in ways that implied attractions, without making explicit admissions connected to particular criminal acts, allowing him to remain in a legal grey area. Those claims remain disputed, and authorities have consistently maintained that any prosecution must be supported by evidence capable of meeting the criminal burden of proof. Unfortunately, this combination of platform moderation challenges, legal limitations, and constant online attention allowed Mark Feely to remain a recurring figure on social media well into 2026, ensuring that debates surrounding his presence never truly disappeared. However, the questions surrounding his live streams represented only part of the controversy, because investigators and campaigners claimed his alleged conduct extended far beyond disturbing conversations online, leading to far more serious accusations. And one of the most disturbing parts of Mark Feely's case is not simply the allegations themselves, but the extremely young ages that have repeatedly appeared in reports from predator hunting groups, public petitions, and media coverage over the years. While some of these claims have never been tested in court, they have circulated for so long and from so many different sources that they have become central to the public discussion surrounding him. Among the most alarming allegations is that Mark Feely attempted to groom children, although these claims remain allegations rather than proven criminal findings. However, what is beyond dispute is that his interactions with minors have drawn repeated police attention, widespread concern across the United Kingdom, and multiple confrontations by predator hunters. Unlike many online personalities who simply upload videos for an audience to watch, numerous investigators and independent predator hunting groups have alleged that Mark Feely actively sought direct communication with people not of age through private messages and social media conversations. According to these allegations, he would identify people not of age during live streams or through TikTok accounts, before attempting to continue conversations away from public view. Several reports further claim that he encouraged people not of age to communicate through email or other messaging platforms where conversations would receive far less scrutiny. Nevertheless, because many of these accusations have not resulted in criminal convictions, they legally remain allegations, even though the public sees it in a very different way. Additionally, investigators who have documented Mark Feely's online activity argue that the pattern itself is what concerns them most, because they believe his live streams function less as entertainment and more as a way of reaching vulnerable audiences. Critics have repeatedly described his broadcasts in spaces where large numbers of people not of age gathered, creating opportunities for contact that would otherwise never exist. Some safeguarding campaigners have also argued that his continued access to major social media platforms demonstrates how difficult it can be for moderation systems to distinguish unusual online behaviour from conduct that may present a genuine safeguarding risk, particularly when no new criminal conviction exists to trigger automatic restrictions. Unfortunately, the allegations become even more disturbing when they move beyond conversation alone. Multiple recordings appear to show Mark Feely engaging in explicit sexual behaviour, like masturbation during live streams. These videos have circulated widely online and have been referenced by campaigners calling for stronger action against him. Critics allege that these broadcasts were intended to be viewed by audiences that included minors, while others argue that the content demonstrated an obvious disregard for child safety regardless of his intended audience. Even so, questions surrounding criminal intent have remained legally significant, and the absence of successful prosecutions means these incidents continue to exist within a complicated legal framework, despite the public outrage they generated. Alongside those recordings, additional allegations claim that Feely attempted to persuade minors to send explicit photographs or videos through private communication channels. These accusations have appeared repeatedly in reports by predator hunting groups and online watchdog communities, although they have not been proven in court. Nevertheless, they have become a major reason why many parents, campaigners, and child protection advocates continue urging social media companies to remove his accounts permanently. Another recurring feature noted by critics is the way Mark Feely allegedly framed his own behaviour. During various live streams and public appearances, observers claim he frequently dismissed serious concerns by presenting himself as eccentric, socially awkward, or simply joking. For this reason, campaigners argue that this approach confused younger viewers, reduced the seriousness of what they were witnessing, and made moderation decisions even more difficult because the behaviour was often wrapped in humour or bizarre performances rather than straightforward statements. Whether intentional or not, that pattern became one of the defining characteristics repeatedly highlighted by those documenting his online activity. However, the online allegations are only one part of the story, because investigators and predator hunting groups also claim that some incidents moved beyond the internet and into attempted real-world meetings, raising the stakes even further. While every allegation must be treated carefully, unless proven in court, several incidents involving attempted meetings with people believed to be not of age have been documented through police reports, news coverage, and widely circulated sting videos, creating a picture that has kept public concern alive, despite the lack of criminal convictions for sexual offences. Nevertheless, the legal outcome of these encounters has remained complicated because the Crown Prosecution Service has consistently maintained that Feely's significant learning difficulties and mental health issues create barriers to prosecution under existing law. According to numerous predator hunting groups, Mark Feely has been confronted in more than 5 separate sting operations over the years after allegedly arranging meetings with individuals he believed were minors. These operations generally involved adult decoys posing as people not of age online before arranging face-to-face meetings in public locations, where members of the groups confronted him while recording the encounters. Videos from several of these confrontations have circulated widely across social media and video sharing platforms, fueling public outrage and reinforcing his reputation as one of Britain's most notorious alleged online predators. However, despite the publicity surrounding these encounters, they have not resulted in the criminal convictions many members of the public expected, largely because prosecutors have continued to cite concerns surrounding his fitness to stand trial. Alongside these recorded confrontations, these claims have circulated for years through local reports, campaign groups, and online discussions, although many have never been tested in court. Because of that, they remain allegations rather than established fact. Nevertheless, they have contributed to widespread fears that his behaviour allegedly extended beyond digital communication into attempts to establish physical contact, increasing concerns among parents and communities wherever he was believed to be living. Reports have also surfaced over the years claiming that police were called after Mark Feely was allegedly seen loitering near primary schools, including incidents reported around Stoke-on-Trent. Local residents expressed alarm whenever sightings emerged, fearing he was positioning himself in places where people not of age regularly gathered. However, available reporting indicates that that these incidents rarely resulted in criminal charges, either because evidence failed to meet the required legal threshold or because he was relocated before investigations could progress further. Even so, these repeated reports added to the growing public perception that authorities were constantly reacting to concerns instead of finding a lasting solution. But perhaps the most widely reported physical confrontation occurred in August 2020. According to multiple news reports, Mark Feely allegedly arranged to meet someone he believed not of age after communication through TikTok. But instead of finding a child waiting, he encountered her father, who had discovered the alleged arrangement beforehand. A violent confrontation followed, during which the father attacked Mark Feely with a knife, leaving him with serious facial injuries that required emergency medical treatment. The assault itself became quite mainstream because the father was arrested at the scene, while Mark Feely was treated as the victim of that specific violent offence, something that angered a lot of people. Or, as one parent on Reddit put it, for fuck's sake, a 7-year-old. I've got a 9-year-old. He's not going to stop acting on being a nonce, so why the fuck we let these fuckers out, I don't know. I really truly hope that the reasons why the guy slashed him is taken into account. And that is something within the local area definitely should be petitioned to the max, to make sure that he does not do more time than this sick, vile fucker. I'm wondering if he's been caught so much, how he's 1, on social media 2, able to move around the UK, and 3, not still locked up. Unfortunately for that parent, reporting on the incident has consistently noted that Mark Feely was not convicted of attempting to meet a child sexual purposes following that confrontation, a legal outcome that intensified public frustration and renewed debate about gaps within the criminal justice system. However, many observers argue that the legal controversy surrounding Mark Feely goes beyond any single encounter. But to make things even more disturbing, Mark Feely has made statements acknowledging that he sexually attracted to age girls, leading several media outlets and campaigners to describe him as a self-confessed pedophile. Those statements have been widely discussed because they appear deeply unsettling to the public. Nevertheless, admitting to having unlawful attractions is not automatically the same as admitting to a prosecutable criminal offence, and that distinction has remained central to the CPS's position throughout the case. According to statements attributed to prosecutors, Mark Feely's significant learning difficulties and mental health conditions have repeatedly influenced decisions about prosecution and trial fitness. Because he has not been convicted of offences such as sexual communication with a child, he has reportedly not been made subject to measures like a sexual harm prevention order, which could legally restrict or prohibit his internet use. To the critics, this leaves a dangerous gap in the law by allowing someone viewed as high risk to remain active online without the restrictions typically imposed after conviction. Supporters of the current legal approach, however, point out that criminal courts must still meet established legal standards before imposing penalties, regardless of how alarming public allegations may appear. So far as I can ascertain, Mark Feely is not a nonce, he is just labelled as such by the pedo hunters and the public. There is nothing in the papers, media or court records to suggest he is a paedophile, as he has never been in court for it. True, he has been tried and found guilty by the court of public opinion, i.e. the rumours. Granted, he has certainly not helped his case one iota, i.e. inserting a wooden spoon and a TV remote control up his anus and posting online to people not of age. Feely is not trying to have with them, but he is not only an exhibitionist, but he has mental health issues too. He needs psychiatric help. I do not believe it is necessary to section him under the Mental Health Act. At present, he can be treated as an outpatient and hopefully control his need for exhibitionism. If it gets worse, then the authorities must review it, but I suspect it won't. Mark needs our help and sympathy because he has mental health issues, not issues. I'm not pro-nonce or a nonce myself, as I'm just being practical. Give Mark a break and leave the poor man alone. As a result, Mark Feely's case continues to generate fierce debate over where public safety, mental capacity, and criminal responsibility should intersect within the justice system. But what has generated more anger than the continuing debate about Mark Feely is how British authorities have handled his case. While public attention usually focuses on his online behaviour, many critics argue that the larger controversy involves a legal system struggling to deal with someone regarded as high risk, while also facing questions about mental capacity and fitness to stand trial. As a result, the discussion has gradually shifted from Mark Feely himself to whether existing laws are capable of protecting people not of age, in cases where prosecution proves difficult. One of the most controversial aspects is the repeated relocation of Mark Feely by authorities for his own safety. Over the years, reports indicate that he has been moved more than 20 times between locations across England, including periods in Rotherham, Wakefield, Stoke-on-Trent, and later Birmingham, largely because of threats from vigilante groups and members of the public. These relocations have reportedly involved temporary accommodation, like hotels and B&Bs, funded through public resources, leading to widespread frustration among taxpayers who believe public money is being spent protecting someone they consider a danger to people not of age, rather than addressing the underlying problem. However, the Crown Prosecution Service has consistently maintained that the legal obstacles surrounding Mark Feely's case are more complicated than public opinion often assumes. According to the CPS, his significant learning difficulties and mental health conditions raise serious concerns regarding his fitness to plead, making criminal prosecution difficult under existing legal standards. Consequently, police efforts have largely focused on maintaining public order, responding to complaints, and preventing violent confrontations instead of imposing restrictions that generally require a criminal conviction, such as a sexual harm prevention order limiting internet access. For this reason, critics argue that this situation has exposed what many describe as a dangerous gap in British law. And because Mark Feely has not been convicted of qualifying sexual offences, he has reportedly avoided automatic placement on safeguarding measures such as the DBS barred lists that can restrict contact with vulnerable people. Campaigners have repeatedly claimed that this allows someone viewed by many as high risk to remain active online, despite years of complaints, recorded confrontations, and allegations. Despite the public backlash, authorities maintain that legal safeguards exist to protect the rights of every individual until the threshold for criminal prosecution is met, regardless of public outrage. For many people following the case, that explanation has done little to ease concerns. Instead, growing frustration has encouraged more members of the public and independent predator hunting groups to confront Mark Feely directly, creating a cycle of vigilantism, police intervention, and renewed controversy that continues to fuel debate over whether the legal system is equipped to deal with cases like his. And as public frustration continued to grow, another pattern began attracting attention, not because of anything Mark Feely himself was accused of doing, but because of how members of the public chose to respond. Over the years, videos of confrontations involving Mark Feely have spread widely across social media, turning nearly every public sighting into a spectacle. Many of these encounters involve predator hunting groups or individuals confronting him over his history and the allegations surrounding him, while others simply filmed him in public and demanded answers. However, these confrontations also created difficult situations for police officers, whose immediate responsibility was to prevent violence rather than settle long-running public disputes. Because of this, Mark Feely has reportedly lived under constant threat of physical attack for years, with the most serious, verified example being the one I mentioned, where he suffered severe facial injuries after being attacked by the father of a child who Mark Feely had allegedly attempted to meet. That incident demonstrated how quickly public anger could escalate into serious violence, and it also reinforced why police and local authorities repeatedly relocated him to different parts of the country, despite the criticism that followed those decisions. Nevertheless, another widely shared incident happened in August 2022 in Barrow-in-Furness. The footage quickly gained traction because many viewers expected the confrontation to end with police taking action against Mark Feely. Instead, officers reportedly arrested the man, filming him on suspicion of public order-related offences, after determining that the confrontation itself had crossed legal boundaries. Mark Feely was not arrested during that encounter, and the footage immediately fueled criticism across social media. For many people watching online, the incident became another example of what they viewed as a justice system focused on preventing immediate disorder rather than addressing the wider controversy surrounding Mark Feely. Police, however, are required to act based on the evidence available during each individual incident, and public order offences are separate legal matters from historic allegations or ongoing investigations. Even so, similar confrontations have continued to occur over the years, with critics arguing that those who confront or harass Mark Feely often face quicker legal consequences than Mark Feely himself. For this reason, others have suggested more drastic measures to handle the problem. In any case, do you think the authorities have handled Mark Feely's case the right way? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe and check out the other videos on the channel. For this generation, stories involving predators and perverts have become an unfortunate part of the internet. From Twitch streamers and YouTubers to even TikTok creators and online celebrities, it seems like every few months another case of predatory or disturbing perverted behaviour dominates the headlines. Whether it's allegations involving inappropriate messages, abuse of influence, or outright criminal conduct, the pattern has become so repetitive that you can almost guess half the story before all the details have even come out. But today's story is different. To understand it, we have to go back to a time before social media, before smartphones, and the internet had become a part of everyday life. It was an era where news used to spread by word of mouth instead of algorithms. and local stories rarely reached beyond the communities they terrified. Our story takes us to Liverpool, a city better known for its football culture, its music and close-knit communities than for producing one of Britain's strangest criminal figures. But over the years, one bizarre individual would become so deeply embedded in local culture that his name was passed around more as a warning than a rumour. For years, parents invoked the same mysterious figure, trying to scare their children into coming home before dark, while the rumours about him spread from school playground to neighbourhood streets, growing with every retelling until the line between reality and urban legend became increasingly blurred. To many, he sounded less like a real person and more like the city's own boogeyman. And unlike most urban legends, this one was very real. The man would eventually become known as Purple Aki. So how did one man become the subject of so many stories, warnings and rumours? That's exactly what we're about to find out. By the time he became one of Liverpool's most recognisable names, his reputation had already taken on a life of its own. But very few people knew who he actually was. What they did know were the stories about a strange man who was said to wander around parks, schools and neighbourhood streets, approaching young boys and teenagers before making bizarre requests that left many of them frightened. Over time, those stories became increasingly consistent, all describing a 6'5" man with an unusual fixation on physically fit young boys and an obsession with asking, or in some cases forcing, to feel their muscles and to squat his weight on their back. Now, we know how absurd that sounds, but we're only scratching the surface.
I was 15 at the time, and I was walking across the road, and this big black fella banged into me. And he said, I know you, don't I? I said, I don't think so. And he said, I do. What gym do you train at? So I told him, and he said, well, I train there, that's where I know you from. He was like, well, let me just show you these murderers on trial in the law courts. I was like, I don't want to see any murderers on trial. Straight away, he turned on me and said, you're being racist, you don't want to come with me because I'm black. And I was like, shocked. I was like, my dad's from Egypt, I'm not racist. Anyway, we went in the law courts, and this is where it gets a bit weird. Went into a little tiny room. So he said, take your top off. But I want to see your muscles. So I was like, I don't want to take my top off. He's like, why, what's wrong with it? You do bodybuilding, I'm into bodybuilding, I just want to see your muscles, that's it. He was stood in front of the door, I had nowhere to go. In the end, took my top off. And he's got me doing all these bodybuilding poses, he's looking at me. He's like, right, I want to see how strong you are. Get me in a fireman's lift and squat me. So I was like, no chance. He's like, why not? He started getting a bit aggressive. Anyway, I just end up doing it.
So he's on your back?
He's on here like this. Massive 6'5" he is. He was sweating loads, and I remember thinking, why are you sweating? After I put him down, he wasn't in front of the door, so I just opened the door and legged it.
As bizarre as it sounded, there were already a handful of people who knew that this wasn't entirely fictional. One of them was a 16-year-old boy named Gary Kelly, who did not know he would lose his life because of the notorious Purple Aki. Gary was already bullied for his experience with Aki. He was already living under the effect of Aki's actions. His classmates would often recall the incidents to circulate the jokes about him being Aki's new boy. According to Gary's girlfriend at the time, he had already encountered him on multiple occasions, long before the incident that would make headlines. The very first encounter that Gary had with Aki was outside school, where Aki was already waiting to stalk him, and what followed that incident was already going to make it worse. She recalled that Aki would seemingly appear out of nowhere, waiting at the bus stop, or hiding in alleyways and entryways near Gary's home before confronting him.
He was like a bloody ghost, because you're at the bus stop and there's no one there. And the next minute, he's there in the bus stop right next to you, and you're like, where did he just come from? Because you didn't see him coming, it was like he just appeared.
On several occasions, he allegedly forced Gary into secluded areas where he made him perform squats and other physical movements while insisting on feeling his muscles.
He'd be standing in the entry at the side of his house, so you wouldn't know that he was there, and as Gary would leave my house and walk over, he'd just step out the entry. And then Gary would go down the entry with him, and that's where he used to make Gary do the squats and stuff. Gary said that he would get excited by that. So that's why Gary went to the police in the end and got a harassment order.
The repeated encounters became so frequent and intimidating to Gary that it actually turned him from an enthusiastic, athletic young boy to someone who was always concerned for his safety. This eventually made him seek help from the police, resulting in a harassment order that prohibited Aki from crossing the River Mersey into Birkenhead to contact him. Despite this court order, Aki's obsession with Gary didn't simply disappear. The legal restrictions drew lines on paper, but they did little to stop the fear Gary had been living with for months. Then came the day that would forever tie Gary's name to Purple Akis. On the 15th of June 1986, Gary had spent the beautiful afternoon swimming with friends at New Brighton Baths, and he didn't know that his encounter with Aki was moments away. After spotting Aki, Gary ran. Being desperate to get away from him, he fled towards New Brighton railway station, hoping to lose him among the platforms. With the station being the end of the line, Gary tried to hide inside a stationary train. He then realised that Aki was still nearby on the platform, so he made the decision to leave the train and climb down onto the tracks. Moments later, he came into contact with a live rail carrying around 750 volts and was electrocuted. Gary was only 16 years old. This became the first major case ever associated with Purple Aki. Aki was soon arrested and later stood trial, where the jury found him guilty of involuntary manslaughter. At first, it appeared as though the case had finally brought an end to years of disturbing encounters, but it didn't last long. Aki appealed the conviction, arguing there was no evidence proving his actions directly caused Gary's death. The court judges agreed, finding that although Gary had clearly been frightened by Aki's presence, Aki had not breached the restriction that prohibited him from crossing River Mersey. With no unlawful act established that could legally make Aki responsible for Gary's death, the manslaughter conviction was overturned. Aki was eventually released. After his conviction was overturned, he was awarded £35,000 in compensation over what was described as racial overtones in the prosecution of his case. With the conviction overturned, it left many wondering how a man with such a long history of such behaviour had managed to walk free. There was much more to Aki's story than what had happened to Gary Kelly. To understand how he became the man at the centre of so many controversies, we first need to look at the person behind the name. Before becoming the well-known Purple Aki, he was simply Akinwale Arabieka. He had a surprisingly long name, which we have put on the screen for those who have time to read it. Born in Crumpsall, Lancashire in 1961, Akinwale was the son of a Nigerian descent mother who was studying to become a secretary, while his father's identity remains unknown. His childhood was far from conventional. At just 6 months old, he was placed into care and later spent time in a Barnardo's home in Llandudno. At the time, there was nothing to suggest that he would one day become one of Britain's most notorious predators. He spent his youth in parts of Liverpool where many of those around him would later become associated with the city's criminal underworld. As Aki's behaviour became more widely known, so did the nickname that would follow him for the rest of his life. Aki came from a shortened version of his name, while Purple was a reference to his exceptionally dark complexion. And this is something Aki took full advantage of, as we will discuss later in the video. Aki was still very motivated to feel young fellas growing muscles, and this was showcased by his intent to harass another teenage boy in Widnes, Cheshire. During the encounter, Kelly Mullaney, the victim's sister, confronted Aki in public, warning him to stay away or she will contact the police. This confrontation was soon followed by intimidation from Aki's side. One evening, the family heard loud bangs coming from outside their home. When they looked outside, Aki was standing there. "You're dead. You're dead." Aki made sure that the family heard the message loud and clear.
When I got home, it was about half an hour later, it was bang, bang, bang on the door. So I looked out the window and he was like, "Come down here." I was like, "I'm not coming down." He came round with a gun, put it through my letterbox and said, "You're f***ing dead, you're dead, you're dead." They were the exact words. "You're f***ing dead, you're dead, you're dead."
For this act, Aki was arrested and served 30 months at Warrington Crown Court on August 3, 2001. This incident led to Merseyside police launching an investigation into Arabica. It didn't take long enough for the police to gather enough information on Aki to get him arrested again. Between 1995 to 2000, he had put his hands on many other of his victims that led the court to convict him for 50 different counts of harassment against more than a dozen young teenage boys. Aki was then sentenced to prison again in 2003. The judge issued more than 30 restraining orders, banning him from contacting any of the young victims ever again. He told him, "You are a danger to young men, and your behaviour is both strange and obsessive." This still didn't put an end to his unusual behaviour. If anything, it followed him behind bars. According to former inmates and multiple reports, Aki continued displaying the same obsession that put him in prison in the first place. He was said to carry a shoelace around, using it to measure the biceps of his fellow inmates. This behaviour made it difficult difficult to keep Aki contained in a single cell. During his jail tenure, his cell was changed 14 times. By the time he was released in 2006, after serving almost 3 years, it had become clear that conventional restrictions weren't enough. The courts would have to do something far more unusual. They handed Aki one of the most bizarre legal orders ever imposed in Britain. He was placed under a sexual offence prevention order, which specifically banned him from touching, measuring, or feeling another person's muscles, and even asking them to do squats, deliberately approaching anyone under the age of 18, and travelling to several towns without police approval. In later hearings, Aki kept denying that his behaviour was sexually motivated. If anything, it was just an obsession with an exercise routine that had gotten out of hand. Less than 2 years later, after his release, Aki was back before the court after breaching the sexual offence prevention order. Prosecutors told the court that he had travelled to Preston, approached a man inside a shopping centre and touched his bicep. This directly violated the restrictions placed on him. Another evidence presented during the hearing painted an even more disturbing picture. Police alleged that Aki had followed one bodybuilder as far as Tenerife and would confront victims with personal details such as their father's car registration or school attended by their siblings. Just like the movie C7N, Aki had a notebook with personal records of his victims. Just months later, Aki breached the order again. You can already guess the breed Aki belonged to. The persistent nature of his crimes are really applaudable.
Where do we go? How do we discuss such an individual? How do we treat it lightly? How can we hate on him mildly? Or should we be hating on him mildly? Should we be isolating him, provoking him, bringing him out of his little corner, exposing him further for the nonce he is?
In 2009, he was jailed after approaching a 17-year-old boy in Birkenhead and attempting to touch his bicep, leaving the teenager quote-unquote frightened and sick. He had become trapped in a cycle of his own making. Arrested, released, breached his order, arrested again. The convictions kept coming, and so did the complaints. Yet over time, Aki began shifting the attention away from his behaviour and towards his own public image. In 2012, while still subject to strict bail conditions, Aki attended a bodybuilding competition in Manchester and was arrested for breaching the bail conditions. During this incident, a police officer described him over the radio using the name Purple Aki while explaining the subject. He argued that the nickname reduced him to the colour of his skin rather than his actual name. The police officer said that his name is quite a lengthy Nigerian name. He's here accosting people in the toilets. As far as I know, he's got bail conditions that prevent him from attending the bodybuilding event. Aki refused to let go of how the officer addressed him during his arrest, and the argument would resurface a few years later, in 2016, when he breached the order by touching a teenage boy travelling through Manchester. Aki once again found himself before the court. During the proceedings, he argued that the repeated use of his name, Purple Aki, by both the prosecution and local newspapers was racist and offensive. He also referred to the earlier incident in which a police identified him using the same name. A complaint was lodged with the Press Complaints Commission, after which the newspaper agreed to stop suing the name in its reporting. In the same year, the case took another turn. After years of convictions and repeated breaches, a judge lifted the part of Aki's sexual offence prevention order that banned him from feeling muscles. During the hearing, Aki maintained that his behaviour had never been sexually motivated. It is just his fascination with bodybuilding. The judge Richard Mansell accepted that Aki's conduct no longer resembled the obsessive and intimidating behaviour that led to his original convictions. The recent complainants had not suffered the same level of intimidation as his earlier victims, and there was no evidence of sexual gratification from the encounters. It was a decision that seemed difficult to reconcile with everything that had happened over the previous 2 decades. By now, a pattern had become hard to ignore. Time and again, Aki found himself before the courts, only to walk away with restrictions reduced, bails granted, convictions overturned, and his lousy arguments accepted. To understand why courts were beginning to soften their approach, we will have to look beyond the conviction and into the parts of his life that rarely make it into the headlines. One of the people who can take us there is Darren G. Few people were closer to the world that surrounded Aki than G. G grew up in Everton, Liverpool, in a troubled family where his education was over by the age of 13 and trouble with law had already started. He and his brothers would eventually become involved in the city's criminal underworld, moving from burglary into drug dealing as their influence grew. By early 2000s, G brothers had become major figures on the Grizzerdale estate, where their gang controlled a drug operation and used intimidation and violence to protect its territory. This resulted in a violent violent feud with a rival group that turned parts of North Liverpool into a battleground, with shootings and killings across the city. In 2004, that feud would eventually lead Darren G to organise the murder of David Regan, a man he wrongly believed had been involved in the killing of his associate Craig Barker and an attempt on his own life. G was later convicted of conspiracy to murder and sentenced to 18 years in prison. But G's importance to our story isn't simply that he was a notorious figure in Liverpool's criminal underworld. It's what he knew about the people around him and the world that existed before Aki became the figure everyone knew as Purple Aki.
Do you think any other sex offender would be able to walk the streets of Liverpool the way he is, the way he has done? And there's only one reason for that, and that's his connections, and who are his connections, the people he grew up with.
For G's account, Aki was already moving in circles that most people knew little about. And there was another question worth asking. How was someone like Aki able to move around so easily without facing the consequences you might expect? G points towards the environment Aki was surrounded by and the people he would work for to gain favours in return.
Through a fella called Tommy Gilday. This is how I first met Arkan Arabiki. It was through a man called Tommy Gilday. He used to come to Tommy Gilday's and he used to sit in the kitchen, drink tea and chocolate biscuits with the likes of Joe McNally, George Bromley Sr. and Tommy Gilday.
G's connection to Aki goes back much further than the stories that later surrounded him. In his video, G said that Aki would regularly visit Gilday's house and have tea alongside other figures from Liverpool's underworld, including George Bromley Sr. Bromley was no ordinary name in Liverpool. He had built a reputation as one of the city's feared enforcers before being murdered in gangland execution in 1997, and Gilday himself was connected to the city's organised crime scene, appearing in accounts of the network surrounding notorious Liverpool criminal John Haas. For G, the Aki he knew back then, despite all the offences, and everything was still very different from the figure the public would eventually come to know. Darren also reveals a side of Aki that never made it into the newspapers. He suggested that Aki would be involved in appearing in magistrates' court and sitting through proceedings with pen and paper, noting down the details of people involved in cases. He would then track them down at their homes or workplaces and use what he had learned to intimidate them, putting pressure on them to back away from the case. According to G, this was not simply for himself. His presence would serve the interest of people connected to the criminal world, and he had been providing this service for a long, long time.
Relating to certain court cases. And why would he be sat in them courtrooms? Is to locate witnesses that would give statements, to get addresses. And in the early part of the proceedings, he'll be present to put pressure upon the witnesses. So they'd see Arkan Arabiki, understand his past and his, who he works with, and they'd back off the case straight away. And that's what he's being used for years and years and years.
Aki was not limited to his reputation as a sexual predator. He also had a remarkable ability to find people and gather information regarding their everyday life, where they live and where they work. Evidence of this is from 1997, where Aki was reported to be stalking several Rugby Super League players, and the clubs were put on alert. The players were even frightened because Aki appeared to know every detail about them, including where they were staying. The police had warned all 12 clubs, while the Warrington chairman at the time, John Smith, was actually worried for the players, and even admitted that Aki had an astonishing ability to get a hold of players' numbers and addresses. G also claims that Aki was used by criminals for more than just intimidation. According to him, Aki was also involved in extorting money and pressurizing families. G also recalls an incident from Aki's time in prison that shows just how deep his connections appeared to run. He reveals that Aki would make his inmates do weird poses with a chair that would make them stuck in an awkward position. He would then do terrible things with them while they were helpless being stuck. One day Aki picked the wrong person when he targeted a prisoner named Peter Devon. What followed was a violent confrontation in which Aki was badly beaten by the men associated with Peter. The story did not end there, and within just 24 hours, Peter's sister was attacked in her own house. The attackers vandalised her place and even slapped her face as revenge for what happened to Aki.
He went through this Peter kid's sister's door, cut her down her face, and that's the power that Arkan Arabiki had amongst the criminal fraternity in the city of Liverpool.
Taken together, the stories G describes paint a picture of a network around Aki that went far beyond his own actions. He was connected to people who could enforce threats, track down people and witnesses, and deal with anyone who became a problem. And this provides clarity on how, despite repeated convictions and restrictions, he continued to find ways back onto the streets. Aki was a clever man, and he understood his power very much, and he knew how to use it in order to benefit himself. His connections gave him protection, while his ability to argue, challenge, and exploit the legal system provided him with thousands of pounds. Over the years, he would repeatedly turn situations that should have worked against him into opportunities to defend himself and seek compensation. His intelligence was also noticed by people who would encounter him personally. Paul Faulkner, a famous wrestler who met Aki, described him as an intelligent man with a great grasp on law. According to Faulkner, Aki was very well spoken and he knew exactly what he was saying. Even in the case of Gary Kelly, despite being the only person being the centre of events that led to Gary Kelly's death, not only he got the case overturned, but the case eventually resulted in Aki receiving £35,000 in compensation. In another example from 2012, Aki was arrested in Manchester after a bodybuilding competition, as we discussed earlier in our video. Aki argues that the officer used the name Purple Aki while describing him to other officers, and that it was a racially charged decision. A decade later, in 2022, he received a substantial but undisclosed settlement from Greater Manchester Police in a civil case. The pattern eventually extended beyond the courtroom and into the media as well, where Aki would challenge BBC over the way he was portrayed in their documentary. He presented the same argument for the use of his name, but unlike his previous legal battles, the challenge did not result in any sort of compensation. So far, we have seen the cases, the conviction, the court battles, and the victims of the notorious Purple Aki. To understand who he really was beyond the headlines, let's hear from the people who knew him personally. Jeff Ollerhead, a former soldier who spent time alongside Aki while both were inmates at Walton Prison. Ollerhead remembered Aki as an unusually intelligent and well-read man. His cell was filled with encyclopedias and legal books, and he was confident enough with the law to represent himself in court.
He never had a tell in his part, he just had loads of encyclopedias and all literature on law, believe it or not. And obviously the stories of him going to the courts and stuff. He's
very intelligent.
He should have been a lawyer. He should have been a lawyer.
He also described Aki as surprisingly helpful inside the prison. He kept largely to himself and was trusted with responsibilities that gave him access to parts of prison most don't normally have. But Aki was not completely isolated from conflicts around him. He recalled an incident where several men attempted to confront and attack him, only for Aki to fight back and completely overpower them.
Akin's always helped me, yeah, right, because he's got a fine legal brain. Yeah. I don't know how he gets into the judges' rooms and gets on the judges' phones. I don't know how he was doing all that. Yeah, right. But he also knows a lot about them judges. Yeah, right. And you also like feeling muscles and going a bit further.
Aki was not the only person who had crossed paths with Aki. Another was Stephen French, better known as the Devil, a notorious Liverpool criminal who later turned into an anti-gun campaigner. French was a close friend of Aki, and the two were known to help each other in their times of need. French presents a similar picture of Aki. He describes him as a close friend, someone he had visited at home and even supported financially after Aki came out of prison. He too speaks very highly of Aki's intelligence, describing him as articulate and saying that he had a fine legal brain. According to French, Aki understood the legal system well and was able to help him navigate difficult legal situations, including finding information about judges and accessing their chambers.
And he helps a lot of lads in jail, you know, with like the case and that, because he's smart as hell, mate. Do you know what I mean? He's a clever and he helps a lot of lads in jail, but the ones who doesn't help are petrified of him. You know? Yeah.
Another former inmate recalled a similar side of Aki. He described him as someone who understood the law exceptionally well and knew how to use that knowledge when dealing with courts. These insights give us an idea of the man Aki was to those who actually knew him, but he also had a life outside jail and courtrooms. He would sometimes be spotted making public appearances in the city that would result in weird confrontations and even heated moments, or straight up the next viral Purple Aki content. Sometimes he would be spotted in what had become his natural habitat, approaching people and trying to get his hands on their muscles. Being recognised in public didn't always end with people simply just acknowledging his name. There were occasions when Aki was directly confronted, with people making it clear that they didn't want him around.
How are we, bro? Purple Aki, yeah? Don't be shy, lad.
Tell him to get out the area.
What are you doing around here, bro?
Get out the area, lad.
Get out the area, bro. Serious.
This was hardly an isolated incident. Similar encounters would play out again, with people recognising Aki and confronting him openly in the street.
Long time no see. You okay? Look at me. I'm not doing that, and I can walk on my dog, lad. Alright, son, see you later. Aki, turn round. Come and feel me muscles. Look at me muscles, look at how big me muscles are, Ak. Bad one, you, son. See you later.
Hey, bro. Have you been on the BBC?
Do me a favour.
Whoa. Whoa.
With time, he had become a very known person with an extremely disliked profile, giving people a free hand in disrespecting him in the streets. There were even occasions where the attention followed him beyond the street, with people approaching his car and continuing to confront him, or even launching fireworks in his face.
But Purple Aki. What do you mean show respect? You're a you what? What you got bullied out of Liverpool for what? For being a what? You groomer. You kid. You what? Get the car, you smelly bastard. Round the road. Don't let him go, lads. Don't let him go. Purple Aki, mate. Get his fucking rage.
But not everyone who recognised Aki knew the story behind his name. To some people, Purple Aki was simply a bizarre local character, rather than a man associated with years of harassment and criminal cases. That disconnect helped change the way he was perceived, with some people treating him less like a notorious figure and more like a meme, stopping him for photographs and using his name as some cultural reference. His name began appearing in places that had little to do with the crimes, turning a real person into a character people could joke about. First, he was used for advertisements, and then he became material for people's entertainment. He had become so recognisable that his image and name could be used to generate a few bucks. For society, he had been turned into a character that people could enjoy referring to, making jokes about the notorious Purple Aki. And once something becomes a recognisable reference, it rarely stops there. The name eventually found its way into memes and internet jokes as well. The name Purple Aki became a punchline without people even needing to explain who they were talking about. People have had a difference of opinion in how to treat the name Purple Aki. For some, it became an easy punchline and a source of jokes. For others, the name carries memories of harassment, fear, and trauma that made the jokes far harder to laugh at. An example of this comes from Gary Kelly's daughter, who finds it deeply disgusting that people treat Aki as a joke. Seeing people approach him for selfies, she feels, is especially unsettling because many of them appear to know the nickname without knowing the history behind it.
For a lot of people, it's a joke. He is a boogeyman. He's like, my boyfriend says, people walk through town and if they see him, they'll take selfies. But not a lot of people are aware of what happened to my dad. It's a sickening dip in my stomach because that actually happens to people. And do you
think people know who he really is?
No.
Aki is still being seen out in public years later. Even in 2025, footage surfaced appearing to show him approaching people to touch their muscles, the very thing that previously placed him under court restrictions.
Oh my f***ing God. Mate, he's actually doing it now. He's a wrong one. Mate, he's going to jail for that.
Going to jail, he wants to be f***ed up for life.
Yeah. I don't remember speaking to you about it, to be fair, mate, but... No. Yeah.
You look fair big, that's all.
Yeah. Appreciate it, bro.
No problem.
Nice one, mate.
Thank you.
You too. Nice one.
So while Purple Aki had gradually become a joke and a cultural reference to many, this footage suggested that the behaviour behind the name had continued long after the public had turned him into a cultural figure. After decades of convictions, court battles, public confrontations and a reputation that had become part of Liverpool's culture, Aki's story eventually came to an end. In August 2025, Akinwale Arabike was found dead in his apartment. The man who had spent decades being feared, mocked, confronted and turned into a cultural cultural reference, was gone, but the name Purple Aki had already taken on a life of its own. Perhaps that's what makes Aki's story so strange. He was feared by some, mocked by others, and eventually became a cultural figure in his own right. On that note, we'll end this video. If you stayed until the end, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and let us know in the comments what you think about the story of Purple Aki. The internet has given us some truly bizarre people over the years. We've seen fake gurus, professional scammers, live stream meltdowns, and influencers willing to do just about anything for 5 minutes of attention. But every once in a while, someone comes along who somehow manages to combine all of those things into one person. Meet Elphaba Orion Doherty.
Elphaba is a name on TikTok you've likely heard before. The 19-year-old British trans woman had amassed over 500,000 followers on TikTok before being banned, and they're known for a variety of controversies that they've been involved in over the last couple of years.
What is the one thing that you regret saying the most online?
The one thing I regret the most is, I think I regret about the direct. Nostril. Oh, we'll have all the men. Oh, boy, I current the bed sheets. Oh.
Now, if you've somehow avoided this corner of TikTok, first of all, congratulations. Your algorithm clearly cares about your mental health, but unfortunately for the rest of us, Elphaba has spent the last few years turning the internet into her own personal reality show, except nobody agreed to be part of the cast.
If you were to walk down the street, you wouldn't be recognised. If I was to walk down the street with you, I'd get fucking people coming at me. You can't get off my live stream, you're stuck. Am I wrong?
This is someone who's been caught faking autism and Tourette's, blamed other people after getting exposed, scammed fans, managed to start drama with practically every friend she's ever had, and somehow turned public meltdowns into a full-time content strategy. And that's somehow not even the weird part, because just when you think she's finally hit rock bottom, she grabs a shovel, starts digging, and somehow discovers an entirely new level of internet insanity.
And spoke to me. I'm gonna try and find the footage.
I don't understand why, I just don't. Why am I doing this? I love you, you're nice. You're actually really nice to me, thank you. That was really nice to me.
And trust us when we say this isn't even the most disturbing part of Elphaba's story. Over the years, she's been accused of lying about countless things, including a GoFundMe she claimed was to help fund her transition. According to people online, she convinced supporters to donate hundreds of dollars, only for the money to allegedly end up funding luxury shopping sprees instead.
What's the bag? I lost the bag. Where's the bag? Hello, darling. Where's the bag? I need my bag. Hello, darling. I lost my bag. Where's my Louis Vuitton bag? Where's my bag?
We mean, is this the same person who cries about being broke, begs for money, and claims that she has a debt?
I'm spending a lot of money that I wasn't used to, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I just kind of fucking went for it, and I was stupid about it, and I didn't even know that you had to pay tax on that, to be honest.
And if that wasn't enough, she also has a long history of harming herself on live streams. There have been multiple instances where she's repeatedly hit herself in the head while live. In one particularly disturbing incident, she held a knife to her own throat during a live stream and invited people to join a live where she would be unaliving herself. Yes, you heard that right.
And nobody has to join for that, do they?
Okay.
From bizarre live streams and hygiene controversies to allegations involving minors, endless feuds and enough online drama to keep half of TikTok employed as reaction channels, Elphaba's career is less of a success story and more of a masterclass in what not to do on social media. So how did someone who originally became known for dressing up as a character from Wicked end up becoming one of TikTok's most infamous personalities? Well, buckle up, because this story only gets weirder from here. This is the complete downfall of Elphaba Orion Doherty, and trust us when we say there is so much to cover when it comes to Elphaba. Over the years, she's been banned from TikTok multiple times, yet somehow she always manages to come back like a plague. And even after all this time, she's still going. There are so many change.org petitions to remove her from TikTok, that it's honestly hard to keep count. However, for almost 6 years now, she's been live streaming, creating controversy and leaving chaos in her wake. We'll do our best to cover her antics as thoroughly as possible, but fair warning, there is simply so much brain rot one person can consume before they start questioning their own sanity. So let's start from the beginning, shall we? So who exactly is Elphaba? Well, if you ask her, she's a singer, performer, influencer, live streamer, entrepreneur, and probably the second coming of the Wicked Witch herself. If you ask literally everyone else, you'll get a very different answer. Over the past few years, Elphaba Orion Doherty has built a reputation as one of TikTok's most infamous personalities, not because she's exceptionally talented, but because she somehow manages to stumble into controversy with almost supernatural consistency. It's honestly impressive. Some creators spend years carefully planning content calendars and brand deals. Elphaba, meanwhile, seems to wake up every morning and ask herself, what's the worst possible decision I could make today? And somehow she usually finds an answer.
And no, I cannot control my anger, so don't tell me to try and control my anger, because that makes it worse. Away from me. I can't.
But believe it or not, things weren't always like this. Long before the live stream screaming matches, the fake disorder allegations, and the endless internet feuds, Elphaba was just another teenager trying to build an audience online. She was born in February 2004 in Barnstable, England, and originally went by the name Orion. People who have been following her online might know that one of the biggest turning points in her life came after watching the musical Wicked when she was a kid. She became completely fascinated with the character of Elphaba, the misunderstood Wicked Witch of the West. Now, to be fair, having a favourite fictional character isn't exactly unusual. Everyone has that one movie, TV show, or game they become obsessed with for a while. Most people eventually move on. Elphaba didn't. Instead, that fascination slowly became her entire online identity.
Elphaba.
Gravity, I'm flying on fire.
She began posting videos singing Defying Gravity, dressing like the character, wearing the iconic black witch hat, and eventually adopted the name Elphaba Orion Doherty after coming out as a trans woman at the age of 17. We mean she has been quite literally obsessed with the song Defying Gravity. There are at least 400 videos of her at various ages covering the song.
These oxygens don't fly, and if I'm flying so low, at least, and if I'm flying so low, at least I'm flying free.
She sang it so much that she even considered contacting Guinness World Records to see if she could set a record for it.
I have the record for the most Defying Gravity song in the world. I actually think if I spoke to Guinness World Records, I actually think I would have the world record. I think I've sang it over 100,000 times on TikTok Live. And I think I've actually sang, I've got 40,000 Defying Gravity.
However, the most ironic part is that despite constantly dressing up as Elphaba and repeatedly claiming to be obsessed with Wicked, she doesn't seem to know much about the musical itself. As you can see in this clip, fans decided to quiz her on Wicked trivia, and she struggled to answer even some of the most basic questions.
1,400 eyes looking at me. Do you not understand how overwhelming that is? You're doing well, Alfie, thank you. What's Cynthia's second name? Arrivo. But she has a huge name which I cannot pronounce. Yeah, but I can't pronounce her name and it'd be a bit, and I don't want to do that. Ask me questions about Defying Gravity or something, or, the alphabets, and that's where I'm very strong in. You can literally play me Defying Gravity and I can tell you the exact alphabet that sings. What key is Defying Gravity sung in? I don't know, I'm gonna be for real, because I don't study music that way. I only sing. I know alphabets in the show, and no, I don't know the key, I'm not normal. Why is the alphabet green? Well, I can easily tell you that. So basically, I'm overwhelmed right now. I know exactly, but there's a lot of people in the comments, just too much. So I'm going to turn it off and I'll tell you.
We mean, she doesn't even know why Elphaba is green. Regardless, for Elphaba Orion, what started as admiration gradually evolved into an internet persona that would define almost everything she posted online. At first glance, none of this was particularly controversial. Sure, the singing wasn't exactly Broadway quality. Let's just say Simon Cowell probably wasn't losing sleep over missing this audition. But TikTok has never exactly been known for its flawless vocals. People dress up as fictional characters all the time, and thousands of creators build audiences around niche interests. If anything, Elphaba just came across as another eccentric TikToker trying to find her place on the platform. However, unfortunately, normal didn't last very long. Now, before we go any further into the story, we should mention that Elphaba has actually been on the internet for quite some time. She first started making videos back in 2019 on another platform called Likey. Her time on that app has quite a bit of lore surrounding it, but we'll come back to that later. It wasn't until 2020 that she joined TikTok. In the beginning, her content mostly consisted of singing covers and videos centered around Elphaba from Wicked. She also spoke openly about her personal life. In one Instagram post, she talked about how growing up and coming out as trans had been extremely difficult. She has also talked about her childhood and being bullied during her TikTok lives.
I was bullied so much, and I was so bullied, so it's not fun, right? And it actually sucked so much. But you know what? I came out the other end, and I was like, yeah.
Now, we're not here to invalidate her experiences. Regardless of everything that's happened since, it's entirely possible that she had a very difficult upbringing. Her mother, Maria, has also become a topic of discussion online because of videos and allegations surrounding her behaviour and apparent substance abuse.
Yes, we love an Inspector Gadget coat. Got all the tools. Piss off. Oopsie, who are you? I'm just me. I'm scared. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Oh, Christina, thanks, babe. Yes, it's the mum. And what? What now?
I do love this coat.
I love it. They're all jelly. I love it. They hate that you got it first. Chicken. Hey,
Mum,
to Texas.
Mum, ignore them, please.
No, I'm being lovely. There's Chris.
Okay.
Is he your friend? Maybe spoke about him once. Hello.
Right, there we go.
Room tour. There you are, it's room tour.
Right, Mum, come
my
on.
CDs.
Right, you're not having it anymore.
Don't be rude.
What? Can be rude?
I will.
Yeah, she is a character, and this has led some people online to speculate about whether Elphaba could have fetal alcohol syndrome, but there is no confirmed evidence to support those claims, except that she behaves like this. All of this being said, like many internet personalities, Elphaba didn't become famous overnight. One livestream changed everything. While streaming in public, Elphaba was bullied by a group of kids who snatched her wig straight off her head before running away laughing. The entire thing happened live, leaving thousands of viewers watching in real time as Elphaba was humiliated in public.
Why do you find it funny to hurt someone like that?
Can I wear it?
Can we move? Can we go, please? Call the police, please. Call the police. Can you call the police, please?
I am.
Now, regardless of what you think about Elphaba today, this was genuinely awful. Nobody deserves to be harassed in public simply for existing, and at the time, that's exactly how people saw it. To most viewers, this wasn't the controversial TikToker. This was simply a transgender creator being bullied on the street by a bunch of kids looking for a cheap laugh. Almost overnight, people rallied behind her. You can see that even people on the street were consoling her.
They're sheep. They can't do it on their own, so don't worry about it. They're going to grow up, they're going to work in factories, they're going to be plumbers, they're going to be fit. Just carry on doing what you're doing, because it doesn't matter.
Looking back now, it's strange to think that this was probably the closest the internet ever came to universally being on her side. Unfortunately, that goodwill didn't last very long, because not long after receiving all of this sympathy, Elphaba started going live almost every day with a new problem. She told viewers she couldn't afford her rent. She claimed she needed help financially. She encouraged people to send gifts and donate money during live streams, and before long, asking viewers for money became less of an emergency and more of a routine.
Send me money. Thank you for the rose. Anyway, so if you want to like send me like a hand heart, you know what I mean? If you love me, can you send me some money, please? Like gifts. I love you.
Now, asking for financial help isn't automatically a bad thing. Plenty of people fall on hard times. The issue was what happened next. In the very same live streams where she was asking people for donations, Elphaba would often argue with commenters, claiming they were simply jealous because she supposedly earned more money than they did, which is certainly an interesting strategy.
Don't worry, I understand. I feel sorry. No way. Stay jealous that I'm getting more money than your weekly wages, darling. But I also see a lot of people getting quite angry when I get gifts, and I do say that can be a bit of jealous, envy sometimes. Fair enough. I want you to get gifts, but being envious of someone isn't a nice trait to have as a person, and that is how it is. I don't think I deserve gifts. I think people are so kind enough to do that, but what do you mean? Like, do you think you deserve gifts? Well, with that attitude, you don't. You're being envious of someone getting money, and you're going to live in that mindset forever, and you're actually not going to make anything of yourself, ever.
Imagine walking into a restaurant, asking the people at the next table to pay for your dinner, and then telling them they're broke if they say no. It's not exactly the best way to keep supporters on your side, but that wasn't the only thing beginning to frustrate people. We mean she would constantly argue with the chat.
So I am going to warm up with Defying Gravity with my chest voice. So I'm going to give it a shot. Here we go. Wait, hold on. You want a singer though? Kelly, everyone can sing. And babe, you look so bored in your profile pic. Go do something with your life, babe. Because you look sad as fuck. Okay. Who's next? Mary, you can't, says. Come up and sing for me then. Why don't you sing for 300 people? What do you know about singing? Tell me. Sing your heart out. Exactly, Natalie. Oh, May says, sis, let's look at you, babe. Right, Maisie looking at my looks. Babe, you're 20 years old, same age as me. And you're giving playground behaviour and pick-me girl vibes. NPC. You seem quite... This is kind of giving... I'm crying for attention. I want your attention off that. Babe, you're no one. Relax.
Around this time, Elphaba became infamous for repeatedly singing Defying Gravity during live streams, usually at full volume and usually without much consideration for anyone around her. Neighbours reportedly complained about the constant noise, but according to Elphaba, she had every right to sing in her own home whenever she wanted.
The council saying that, well, Elphaba's live streaming. Well, yeah, I'm allowed to in my own home. Thank you very much. I'm allowed to sing in my own home. As are you. Anyone else is allowed to sing. If she wants to sing, she can sing. I'm not going to complain about it. Do you know what I mean? Music, I don't care. Put as loud as you want on. I don't care. I keep myself to myself with neighbours. I don't complain. I'm not a Karen. Do you know what I mean? How many of you are like that, guys? How many of you keep yourself?
Technically, she's not wrong. People are allowed to sing in their own homes. The problem was that her voice was disturbing other people, and this quickly became part of a much larger pattern. We mean, she's been using microphones and screeching at the top of her lungs inside a tiny apartment. How could her neighbours not be disturbed? And like we said, this is part of a much bigger pattern. From the very beginning, Elphaba seemed to realise that her singing, her public outbursts and portraying herself as the victim attracted attention online. She appeared to recognise early on that this kind of content generated engagement, something that became apparent when she broke down crying on livestream after the wig snatching incident. Overall, whenever someone criticised her behaviour, whether it was the loud singing, the livestream begging or anything else, Elphaba rarely accepted criticism. Instead, she would immediately portray herself as the victim, insisting people were bullying her, attacking her, or simply jealous of her success.
real. Don't make me out to be a monster that I'm not. I'm not. It's disgusting. You can't do that. And you're like, oh, no, I'm not gonna have that. I'm not gonna have that. Don't you dare call me something like that. I'm nowhere near that. How dare you say that about me? I would be reporting all of you to the police at this point for defamation of character. How would you like if I called you that? Do you know what I mean? It's not okay. You say you seek out...
And if you've watched enough of Elphaba's content, you'll notice this pattern over and over again. Whenever something goes wrong, it's almost never Elphaba's fault. It's her viewers, her friends, the internet, or literally anyone else she can point a finger at. Now, up until this point, most of Elphaba's controversies had been fairly manageable. Sure, people found her annoying. Some thought she was manipulative. Others couldn't stand the constant live stream begging. But being obnoxious on TikTok isn't exactly a unique achievement. If that were enough to get someone cancelled, we'd probably have to shut the entire app down. No, it actually went much worse than that. The trail of lies and controversies is so extensive that it's honestly hard to keep up with. For example, in 2022, Elphaba claimed to have autism, something she called suspected autism.
I am suspected autistic. Suspected. I think I have it. Self-diagnosis is a valid thing in the UK due to the whole waiting list.
And her reason for why she thinks she has autism? Well, because she is obsessed with Wicked.
Well, I was told that I have a special interest in Wicked and Pokemon cards and things like that. I struggle to communicate with people. That's what Cam's picked up on as well, the stimming. Autism. Can't even spell that right. Anxiety, obviously. And depression. PTSD.
We mean, you guys can probably see where this is going, right? Now, before we go any further, it's important to make one thing clear. Autism isn't something that should ever be treated as a personality trait or an aesthetic. It's a real neurodevelopmental condition that affects millions of people, many of whom spend years trying to receive a proper diagnosis and access the support they need, which is exactly why what happened next caused such a massive backlash. In 2022, Elphaba appeared on a competition called Autism's Got Talent, performing alongside her friend Jack. And she didn't only participate, she won the competition. Now, as the name of the show suggests, the show exists to highlight and celebrate talented, autistic individuals, giving them a platform to showcase their abilities. For many participants, it was a genuinely meaningful opportunity. There's just one problem. Unlike many of the other contestants, Elphaba had never actually been diagnosed with autism. According to what would later come out, she had essentially self-diagnosed before appearing on a show specifically intended for autistic people. Naturally, people weren't exactly thrilled by this revelation. Many felt she had taken a place that could have gone to someone who genuinely met the criteria for the show. And honestly, you can understand why so many people were upset. But somehow this wasn't even the worst part, because once people began questioning whether she actually had autism, Elphaba didn't respond by providing evidence. She dodged the question for a very long time and eventually admitted that she lied about it.
It's been diagnosed, etc., and like Autism's Got Talent and everything kind of threw a lot of people off.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
The one thing that you regret saying the most online?
The one thing I regret the most is, I think I regret about the Tourette's thing. So I said I had Tourette's uneducatedly, so I remember saying I had Tourette's.
And she blamed Jack. Yes.
Like, I was under a lot of pressure by a lot of people telling me, are you diagnosed? We're talking 17 years old, growing up, and I didn't know what to say. I wasn't really used to a platform. I still had a platform there, but it was so new to me, so I just said a bunch of shit. It wasn't malicious, I hope you know that. It wasn't malicious in any sort of way, I really hope you know that. Me going on a talent show, no, I can get why people are angry with that, because that show wasn't for me. It was basically for my friend who isn't my friend anymore. I'm not going to mention him. We're going to call him, no, but we're not going to mention him, but you know who it is. He knew I wasn't diagnosed with autism, so there's a 50-50 blame.
in my opinion, because, you know, he knew I wasn't diagnosed. He told me to audition anyway. He said, I want this big break. He wanted this break for himself because he's never performed in any big stages before. Neither have I, so I took the opportunity as well, which I shouldn't have. He wrote my biography for the show. He wrote everything. He knew I wasn't diagnosed. He said, don't worry, they won't know. But the reason how people found out I wasn't diagnosed with autism was through him. So he told everyone as soon as I cut him off as a friend. So that's what happened. That's, you know, and that's not a true friend, you know, that's not a genuine person, so. Oh, they call me a liar now. All right, I'll stop, sorry. I'll stop. I don't want any.
The same Jack who had performed alongside her on the show, unlike Elphaba, actually was on the spectrum. Now, one thing we should probably mention here is that Jack wasn't just some random guy Elphaba happened to meet a few weeks earlier. The two had actually been close friends for quite a long time. They regularly streamed together, filmed content as a duo, and for a while, Jack became one of the few people viewers genuinely enjoyed seeing alongside Elphaba. Their chemistry made for some of her most well-received content, and many fans believed Jack brought out the best in her. Here are some of the old clips we found of them together.
Oh, oops. Without a friend, without a face to say hello to. And now the night is near. Now I can make believe he's here.
At one point, Elphaba even moved into Jack's house so the two of them could continue making content together. However, people also began noticing a recurring pattern in the way Elphaba treated Jack. According to many viewers, she frequently bullied him, constantly tried to keep the spotlight on herself, and often got into arguments with him.
That's not it,
That's not exactly a duet.
Oh, no way it is.
It's not. I get one, like 2, maybe 3 lines if I'm lucky.
You can be the guards and you can be...
Then it's not the shortened version.
No, it is.
It's not. It's not.
Oh, man, it's I'm not doing this on your mind. I'm feeling Define Gravity right now because I'm literally dressed, ready for it.
I know, but I don't want to do that one. You've done it 3 times.
She was eventually kicked out of Jack's house for being a menace and not doing the chores.
I want to do Define Gravity.
You've done it 3 times.
I know.
And I really don't want that right now.
Okay.
I've just heard about the sock.
No, yeah, that was nothing. I didn't generally...
It was solid.
Look. I'm not like that.
Well, you
I'm not like that.
Well, you do the room. It's not about
So Jack's mum's now kicked me out. Because... on my birthday...
When it was just me and Alfie, who did most of the chores?
You did, because you got a book.
Who looked after who more?
I mean...
He did look after me. She helped me when I was in hospital. I'm not lying. Actually, absolutely did.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I would say that for the first few months I was there with you, and I would say that I probably did more chores and more looking after than anyone else. But when you two were alone and we gave you that book to write down who did what, yeah, it was very, very clear that you were doing the chores and the other one, Elfie, wasn't doing so many.
She wasn't doing Mum.
She did do some. She did do the dishwashing.
But according to Elphaba, the whole autism claim was somehow his fault. Rather than taking responsibility for presenting herself as autistic, she shifted the blame onto the one person who had been publicly supporting her throughout this entire period. And if you're thinking, that's a pretty bizarre way to handle getting caught, welcome to Elphaba's story. But there's a lot more to the Jack lore than most people realise. Not long after Elphaba began blaming Jack for many of her own controversies, Jack uploaded a video about Elfie, explaining that Elphaba had treated him horribly and that he had finally decided it was time to walk away.
I'm not sure whether I'm going to post this. I probably will. I don't know if it's going to sit in my drafts or what, but this isn't the easiest thing for me to post. I mean, I don't know if it's right, but I think this account is about rights, about living as who you are, It's about my life. It's about my transition, my happiness. And I think it's really important to know what happened today. I struggle to talk about what happened with Elphaba. For a long time now, I've struggled with just what happened. I've had flashbacks, I've had nightmares. There's a lot of stuff I'm not going to go into because I don't want to damage her. But it happened. Now today I saw Luna the Musical, which I really recommend, by the way. It was really good. And I was sitting with the director James afterwards. We were talking about the trans role, how characters are written, that sort of thing. And eventually we got onto Elphaba, and we talked about how we both saw warning signs in terms of our, our friendship and the role respectively, and how we were right about those warning signs, and that now that it was all over, we could both move on to, better things. For him, that was getting the musical off the ground and doing a lot more with it. For me, that was like doing what I wanted to do online and just being happy in general. And
on the other hand, Elphaba denied ever bullying Jack. Instead, she claimed that it was actually Jack who had been abusive towards her.
Because he didn't really care, so we used to do that little joke to each other when I was friends with him. So yeah, it's not bullying at all when he's literally showed my actual shit on live stream and showed my room and everything and this and that, and still talks about me and sanctifying gravity at basketball pride to get my attention. Girl, that's the least he deserves right now. So yeah, because all I'm saying is if you think about it, y'all say it's bullying, right? But none of you spoke out when Jack bullied me. Am I wrong? The haters or people, who like to question me, and when I do one little tiny thing online wrong, the teeniest little weeny woo woo thing wrong, or just say Alan Carter Jack when he does, to be honest. It's not bullying, because I haven't misgendered him, I haven't commented on any of his appearances. I'm just saying he looks like Alan Carr.
But this was only the beginning of the lies. Another major controversy involved Elphaba claiming to have Tourette syndrome, with many viewers accusing her of faking tics that they believed looked incredibly unconvincing.
So yeah. We've been collecting information since November.
Naturally, a lot of people called her out over it, including Mama Kaz, who became a recurring character throughout Elphaba's story during 2023 and 2024.
24 hours we was with each other, nothing. All of a sudden she went like this, and I said, what are you doing? She goes, that's my Tourette's.
Tesco. Thank you for shopping at Tesco.
We mean, a lot of her videos were not even just faking tics, it was downright mocking it, which was so infuriating.
Hi!
That's how I clear my throat. Do you know what? I should do that more often. It's kind of a slay.
And she didn't just fake tics, she also faked a whole ass seizure on live.
Elphaba faking a seizure.
At this point, we don't even know if we should laugh or be angry. Now, Elphaba's claims also upset many people within the Tourette's community. One of them was Tourette's advocate Geordie, who has a son diagnosed with Tourette's. During a live stream, she confronted Elphaba about her claims, who appeared to have very little to say in response. And the response she did come up with seemed very much like damage control.
Why are you doing it?
Oh, no, let me say this. So sometimes I
I have anxiety, right? So I'm diagnosed with anxiety. And basically, I squeak and jitter uncontrollably sometimes. I've done it off live. My mum has seen it herself. And I asked the doctor, is this Tourette's? And they said they're not 100% sure, so they had to put me in, you know, TalkWorks. It's a service. Let me show you.
Before you carry on, can I just say that no GP would have said they weren't sure about Tourette's, because you have to be 12 months having tics to be called Tourette's. So there's no way any GP will have said to you, we're not sure if that's Tourette's. If they thought you had tics, it would be a different story. But there's no way any GP said to you, oh, yeah, we're not sure if that's Tourette's. It's just not, that's bollocks, mate. That's bollocks.
I can show you my referral if you want to see
I don't need to see.
Now, we'd just like to clarify something. Having anxiety-related jitters is not the same thing as having Tourette's syndrome. The tics Elphaba was displaying on live streams are a completely different matter. And let's give her the benefit of the doubt for a second. Even if she genuinely was told by a GP that Tourette's was a possibility, we still don't think it's okay to publicly claim you have a medical condition before you've actually been diagnosed, especially when you're broadcasting that claim to hundreds or even thousands of people online and receiving sympathy because of it. The funniest part of her interaction with Geordie, at least in our opinion, was that Elphaba usually had no problem saying whatever she wanted whenever she was live streaming. But the moment she was confronted by someone who actually understood Tourette's and lived with the condition herself, she suddenly had very little to say. In fact, she barely responded during the live stream with Geordie at all. Instead, she went live afterwards to talk about it, which, as you'll see throughout this story, became yet another recurring pattern in Elphaba's online behaviour.
Oh, my apologies, sorry. I would never in my life ever say something so disgusting that people thought I would say that. Like, that's so wrong. I struggle with relationships, and I do tend to struggle with, what's it called, like, understanding people. Sometimes, like I say, like, the wrong thing and they'll get offended by it. I may not be autistic, but there's a high chance I am. And for people to say that I'm mocking, I'm not. I really, really am sorry about, you know, things that people have said about me and stuff. I really want you to know, truly, that this is hard, man. You know, to get this, and people are out there to witch hunt me and come at me for things, and that's really wrong. I only apologise for that, and I'm sorry for self-diagnosing, and I never will do that again. I never will. You know, there's things that shouldn't be said on live stream, and I have said them. I really have, and that's not okay for me to do that. So thank you for holding me accountable for that. I really appreciate it. I was never mocking it, though. I would never mock that. I know how hard it is, and I can't imagine people with Tourette's who are going through such a hard time right now. You know, that must, man, you know, and you are so valid and beautiful, and I really genuinely mean that, seriously.
The thing is that she never said she was going to get a diagnosis. She just said she had it. Regardless, eventually, after maintaining these claims for quite some time, Elphaba admitted that she had lied about having Tourette's. She said she hadn't fully understood what Tourette's actually was and claimed she was going to pursue a proper diagnosis. Spoiler alert, that diagnosis never came.
One thing that you regret saying the most online?
The one thing I regret the most is, I think I regret about the Tourette's thing. So I said I had Tourette's uneducatedly, so I remember saying I had Tourette's.
So let's get this straight. She claimed to have autism, claimed to have Tourette's, blamed some of the confusion on what she'd been told by others, and eventually admitted that those claims weren't true because she didn't understand what the condition actually was. Yeah, we're not buying it. Now, while many people think that's where Jack's role in Elphaba's story ends, that's actually not the case. A few years later, Jack shared a story that was genuinely heartbreaking. He wrote, "I recently realised that I was SA'd a while back, and I've been breaking over it. I just wanted to make this to show that it happens to everyone, and if you're in a similar position, then I see you. I can't bring myself to make a proper video about anything, even though it was a while ago that this incident happened. I keep feeling like I'm being dramatic, but I'm not being dramatic because it's a serious issue that's been normalised." Those posts left many people concerned for Jack and wondering what had happened. And of course, while Jack never mentioned any names, many people online assumed he was referring to Elphaba. However, Elphaba strongly rejected that narrative. Rather than addressing the speculation surrounding Jack's posts directly, she went online and instead alleged that Jack had SA her.
Spoke to the police, and they said, "Why haven't you reported it to the police?" You're f***ing lying. You're lying. You are so lying about it for clout, Jack. You want a bit of fucking clout. And you were involved in the fucking address with Jenny J. Johnson as well. Oh, yes, you were. I know you're in the group, darling. I've got screenshots. On top of that, I've got screenshots of you, Oh, we'll go in, darling. You want the tea? You want the drama? Let's have the drama then.
Don't shout about it.
Alright, here we go. So, guys. Come on, one of my moderators DM me the link to the server so I can send the evidence to you guys and I can show you. Please, that'd be very great. So, on top of that, so basically when I was flat out drunk, you can actually go Google this yourself. I actually banged my... I'll show you 1 second, I'll actually show you right now. Alright, so Alpha Bar, Jack drunk. Here we go. So what Jack should have done, right? He should have accepted my mum's phone call when I was flat out drunk and should have spoken to her and said, call an ambulance, because I almost had alcohol poisoning. I had over 25 units of alcohol. Do you know the pink gin you see, right? Thank you, Amber, for supporting me. To anyone that says Team Jack, f*** off, because you know what, I'm saying facts right now. Team Alphaba on this one, because do you know what? I actually think I was assaulted. Yes, I think I was, because do you know what? I was drunk and Jack was sober, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
Now, we're not going to comment on those allegations because we genuinely don't know who's telling the truth. However, we do know that this isn't the only time Alphaba has been accused of sexually inappropriate behaviour. Jack shared his statement in November 2023, but in June 2024, another online creator named Harley publicly announced that he intended to take Alphaba to court, alleging that she had touched him inappropriately and stalked him online.
So Alphaba can play all the cards he wants, all the cards in the books. She can say that she never got the letters. The letter has gotten to Alphaba because something else has happened, which I can't comment on. So, the court date is the Thursday, the 21st of November, 2024, at 2:15 p.m. So that's when court will be happening.
According to Harley, the two met at a Nicki Minaj concert where they took a photo together. He claimed that later that night, Alphaba made unwanted advances toward him and touched him inappropriately. Harley also shared screenshots of messages that he alleged Alphaba had sent him.
You can see Instagram link, there's Alphaba, hi, 5th of June at 9:46. There's all the messages. I thought I'll put it on like the big screen so then you can actually see.
One particular message that Harley shared stood out. In it, Alphaba asked, "Who did you enjoy more, Nicki Minaj or me?" She then followed it up by saying that he had 5 minutes to reply, or she would make his life hell. Wow, we mean, if those messages are genuine, that's a pretty threatening thing to say. Harley also shared other screenshots. In one of them, he wrote, "Last night all you did was harass me. I have so much evidence I can put out on you. I have videos, I have witnesses. You thought it would be funny to harass me for nearly 2 hours while I was waiting for Nicki Minaj. At the end of the concert, you tried to hug me, tried to grab my thing, and kept saying so much awkward stuff to me. It's not right that you keep getting away with everything. All you want is attention." According to Harley's screenshot, Alphaba responded with something along the lines of, "Whatever, I have lawyers and I'm famous, so good luck." Now obviously Alphaba rarely stays quiet about anything, so it wasn't long before she posted a response of her own.
Kind of listen to this. If someone was generally essayed at that concert, there would be security looking, there would be people seeing, there would be some sort of action. If I was to do something like that, I probably would get in the by his boyfriend. I actually have witnesses who I was with the entire time, who saw nothing. And while I'm tore up, security were everywhere. everywhere. We're talking barriers on the exits to help people drive out.
So basically, Elphaba's response was that there was security present and that she was with other people that night. Again, we genuinely don't know what happened, so we're not going to pretend we do. But at the same time, we don't think Harley's allegations should simply be dismissed. As we get further into this story, you'll see that Elphaba repeatedly flirted with men online and was frequently rejected.
For example, if I was luscious and gorgeous, would you date me? Hang out with me? Using those mum's things. What? So well, Daddy, I'm trying to ask you out. It's not working.
But that's not all. Before transitioning, Elphaba was also reportedly banned from the app Likey after having inappropriate conversations with minors. And as if that wasn't enough, she was also banned from TikTok after displaying someone's pickle during a live stream.
So this was here. Hold on, let me. Oh no! Oh, I'm gonna dig a hole, babe, because it's time to expose your ass. Don't try and threaten a trans person, babe. Oh, it's a joke. I guess that's a joke, isn't it? I'm so sorry. So.
However, for now, we'd like to move away from that and talk about another aspect of Elphaba's online persona that's become just as well known: her hygiene issues. Yes, really. Now, criticising someone's appearance is one thing, and it's not something we generally like doing. People shouldn't be mocked simply because of how they look. However, personal hygiene is a completely different conversation, especially when you're broadcasting your life to hundreds or even thousands of people every single day. And unfortunately for Elphaba, this became one of the biggest topics surrounding her online presence.
So lovely. Then that would happen. I couldn't do it. Sorry.
Over the years, viewers began pointing out that Elphaba often appeared visibly unclean during live streams. Her hair frequently looked greasy. Her makeup seemed like it had been surviving for several days without being washed off, and people repeatedly commented that she looked as though showering wasn't exactly high on her list of priorities. As harsh as that might sound, things only got worse from there. One of the biggest talking points was her hair, which was absolutely covered in lice, dandruff and whatnot. Well, instead of quietly addressing the concern, she decided to tackle it the Elphaba way by pointing the camera directly at the top of her head during a live stream and insisting everyone was wrong. According to her, what people thought were lice were actually just dandruff. Now, whether it was lice or dandruff isn't really the point. The point is that this somehow became an actual live stream discussion. Most influencers spend their time showing off skincare routines. Elphaba was giving viewers a guided tour of her scalp, and somehow it didn't end there. During another live stream, she proudly asked viewers what they thought about her hair, clearly expecting compliments. Instead, the chat responded with, well, brutal honesty. Rather than taking the criticism on the chin, Elphaba became visibly upset that people weren't nearly as impressed with her hair as she was.
Thought I would do this. Do my hair like a nice little kind of crimpy style. Yeah, no one likes it. Alright, that's fine. Love the grease, alright. That's so nice of you. I need that off. I need that off. I'm sorry, I just need that off. I honestly wouldn't wish anyone this kind of hate in their life. I honestly wouldn't.
it makes me want to just cut all my hair off and go back to normal. You know what I mean?
Then came the ear mites. Yes, ear mites.
The right ear. What do you mean? Oh, that. That's not. No, that's not. That is. What is that? I don't know what that is. Well, it hasn't got legs, and it's not an ear mite. It's makeup. Oh my god, it's mascara. How has mascara ended up on my ear?
We mean there is just so much when it comes to her hygiene, or lack thereof. She catches the bugs in her hair and pushes them back in. And oh, she also used eyeliner and some spit to contour her nose. But arguably the biggest criticism wasn't even about her appearance. It was about what Elphaba openly admitted herself. During various live streams, she confessed that she sometimes went days without showering, and, even more surprisingly, admitted that she hadn't brushed her teeth in months. Weeks, not days. Months.
A £12 toothpaste. I've had it for like 6 months, but I bought it ages ago and I've refused to use it since, but I'm going to use it. I'm going to start using it now. It's not even open.
And before anyone says, maybe she was exaggerating, even her own mother seemed to disagree with her hygiene habits. In one clip, her mother Maria can literally be heard telling Elphaba to stop straightening her hair and go take a shower instead. When your own parent has to remind you to bathe while you're live in front of thousands of people, it's probably worth taking the hint.
Okay, I'll show you.
Improve it.
Right.
Why didn't you just have a shower?
Well, I had one. Yeah,
I know, I just haven't got shampoo. I'm done. Just got shampoo again.
I had one. That's added on to the jubbling now. Thank you, Mum.
Say, get over it. It's a phone. They've been mean to me.
Unfortunately, the oversharing didn't stop there. Elphaba also developed a rather unfortunate reputation for farting during live streams.
I don't know what my neck and my back is. It sounds wrong. I'm going to put it on and I'm going to hear some of it first. No, don't do it. Don't put it on. It's offensive. So it's my farts. Oh, it's offensive. Okay, I'm not putting it on then. Right, you have to choose something else. Aaron, you have to choose a song that isn't offensive. Go for it. It's offensive, apparently. Nah, that's I just looked at the description. It's offensive. No, it's too crude for TikTok. There's kids watching me. I'm not doing that. No, another song.
Now look, everyone farts. It's part of being human. Most people, however, don't do it live in front of an audience and then become known for it. Yet somehow this happened often enough that clips started circulating online, turning something that should have been an embarrassing accident into yet another recurring meme associated with her content.
Just come and say hi, you know. I am going to fart. Pardon me. Let one out, let one rip, whiffy woo.
And trust us on this one. If you're eating anything right now, do yourself a favour and put it down. Because what we're about to talk about is pretty disgusting.
From my 16 bar. Sorry. Flat. See, don't be in the same room as me in the morning, but you can.
And just when we thought we'd officially reached rock bottom, the internet discovered the infamous pee bottle story. According to Elphaba herself, she admitted to urinating in bottles instead of using the bathroom. To this day, people are still trying to figure out why. Was it laziness? Convenience? Some bizarre habit? Honestly, your guess is probably as good as ours. And just when you think the hygiene saga couldn't possibly get any more disgusting, it somehow does, because perhaps the most serious controversy of them all involved scabies. Elphaba openly admitted that she had contracted scabies, a highly contagious skin condition.
It's actually annoying me what this is. It's on my fingers now. What are these things? Look, there's one on my hand, right? I think I'm going to go to doctors about this. There's one on my hand, and there's two here. I don't like it, it's freaking me out.
Scabies. What the is that? Can you die from that? I'm actually gonna shit myself. I've got health anxiety, man. I'm not even shitting you.
Now, most people in that situation would probably stay home, get treated, and avoid exposing other people until the infection had cleared up. Elphaba apparently had other plans. Instead of isolating herself, she continued going out in public, shopping, trying on clothes in stores, and generally carrying on as if nothing had happened. Unsurprisingly, this caused a huge backlash, with many people pointing out that she was risking spreading the condition to completely innocent strangers.
Hello everyone in the chat, how you doing? How's everyone? So I just went to the pharmacy today. Got my hand sanitizer. Also I got a spray to wipe away everything I sit on. I'm taking extra precautions, don't you worry very much. The doctor said I could do this for like a week and then I'm sorted. Thank you, everyone.
Rather than acknowledging those concerns, Elphaba became angry at the criticism. She argued that she was an adult, nobody could tell her to stay in her room, and because scabies isn't fatal, people were overreacting. And trust us when we say that this is the most unhinged reaction ever.
I'm not going anywhere! I will fucking stay on this app. You try me! I'm the fucking queen! You fucking look at me and you fucking admire me. Cause you could never go through what I go through on the day. Never go through any of it. I am the most strongest person I know. The most strongest bad fucking bitch on this app. Dealing with threats, people telling me to kill myself. I am a fucking queen. Yes, I fucking am. I'm the fucking queen. I am the fucking legendary fucking iconic TikTok queen. I don't give a fuck if it makes people's attitude worse towards me, because do you know what? At least I'm standing up for myself. At least I'm being a fucking icon. I am gonna be full of myself, because do you know what? That's all I've got. That's all I've fucking got. Because do you know what? People want me to be sad. People want me to cry. That's what they fucking want. No, you're not gonna fucking get it. I'm gonna be the fucking queen, and you're not gonna fucking tell me to kill myself. You fucking bellends. You fucking cunts. You fucking bitches. Don't fucking tell me to go fucking kill myself. You fucking bitches. I'm a fucking queen. So I can scare you. Try me!
Well, that's pretty much her normal behaviour. Well, that response only made the backlash even worse, with many viewers arguing that the issue was never about whether it was fatal. It was about basic consideration for everyone around her. It's honestly so exhausting. And let's not forget that one time when she literally walked into Chelsea's livestream with poop in her hand. Yes, quite literally.
Charlie, thank you. I just got overtook by a cat
Josh.
Eight.
Yeah, we got back. Oh, Alpha, sweetheart. I just had to look at that, sweetheart. Affected.
Now, before we move on, there's one thing we need to briefly mention. Chelsea, also known as CLA. If you've spent even 5 minutes looking into Elphaba's lore, you've probably seen Chelsea pop up more than once. Their relationship is honestly one of the most bizarre parts of this entire story. And trust us, we'll dedicate a whole section to unpacking that absolute train wreck later on. For now though, all you need to know is that Chelsea was another controversial creator who, at one point, invited Elphaba to stay at her house so they could live stream and make content together. The two of them created some genuinely chaotic content before the friendship eventually imploded, with Chelsea kicking Elphaba out of her home. But as we said, that's a rabbit hole we'll save for later, because it deserves an entire section of its own. With that out of the way, we need to talk about something that stood out to us while researching this video. By now we've established that Elphaba's hygiene habits are less than ideal, but what's arguably even more disturbing is her attitude toward the controversies she's been involved in. Most people, after getting caught lying about serious medical conditions, would probably disappear from the internet for a while, issue a sincere apology, and hope everyone eventually forgets. Not Elphaba. During one livestream, she almost seemed proud of the fact that she'd lied about having autism and Tourette's.
I'll tell you what I'm known for. So I'm known for lying about autism. And I'm known for singing Defying Gravity. I'm known for having my wig snatched off my head.
I just followed you. Wait, wait, you said you said you've lied about having autism?
Yes, I lied about being diagnosed with autism. But I'm in the current wait for a diagnosis. So yeah.
And what was the reason for that?
Well, I wanted people to understand me, because no one was understanding me, and I was already in the waiting list, but I was undiagnosed autistic. So I'm still undiagnosed, but I'm in the current wait for a process with it. So it's not like I've just said it for views. I'm actually in the current wait for it. And then when I get the diagnosis, I can show everyone. But the diagnosis is like a 4-year wait, so you've got to wait 4 years, darling.
Yeah, that's a...
I'm told you, I'm just honest.
I feel like...
I wouldn't say that about myself, but I would, because it's true. I did lie about autism, you know. I take accountability for my shit, you know what I mean? Not many people do that. You know what I mean? I do generally take accountability for shit I've done. I did lie about autism, so yeah. And, you know, I'm sorry about that, everyone. But, you know, I'm in a current wait for it. And when I get my diagnosis, you'll see. I think it's quite fucking clear I'm autistic as well, because, when I was in a meeting, well, not a meeting, but like a therapy session, I was told I had traits and they wanted to put me forward because of my special interest to Wicked and my stimming, so they saw a few traits in me. I mean, singing Defying Gravity 20 times a day for the past 12 years is not a normal thing.
And honestly, that's what makes this story so frustrating. It's not just the lies themselves, it's the apparent lack of remorse afterwards. But if you're already feeling frustrated, we suggest you buckle up, because we're barely halfway through this story, and somehow it only gets worse from here. As we continue digging through hours of live streams and old clips, we also found multiple instances where Elphaba used racial slurs, including the N-word during live streams.
Do you know what? You get a wallet for that money. Money.
And when people call her out, this is how she reacts.
I know I'm cancelled now again. I'm sorry, actually. No, I didn't know that. Oh, God!
Honestly, this was already too much for us. And then we discovered the scams. Now, when people call influencers scammers, it's often just an exaggeration because they sold an overpriced hoodie. That isn't what we're talking about here. Over the years, Elphaba has been accused of multiple scams, each somehow stranger than the last. Let's start with probably the most ridiculous one, Roblox. Yes, Roblox. According to numerous people within her community, Elphaba was accused of scamming players out of valuable Roblox gems, with multiple users claiming she took in-game items without delivering what had been promised in return. While these might sound like just virtual items, many players spend real money and countless hours earning those resources, so naturally, people weren't too happy when they believed they'd been ripped off. Now, if that wasn't bizarre enough, Elphaba somehow found another way to monetize her internet fame. She started charging people for photos.
On top of that, part two, 1 second. So yes, and as for the £5 a photo thing, I'm only doing this because I get so many photos, so many people, and
She would also go live and ask people to give her money for singing, full grifter mode.
I'm not singing for free. You pay me. If you want me to sing, you give me money. And it's an Installer. Now that's crazy, then I'm not singing. It's not crazy, actually. That's the standard for a singer. If you were to go to a gig, you'd pay them 100 quid. I don't give a shit what you think. Like I say, I've almost got 700,000 followers. I'm not singing for free anymore, my darling.
Most creators are happy to stop for a quick selfie with supporters. Elphaba, on the other hand, decided that meeting her came with a price tag. And there is more. She also started saying that she would now use a card reader to charge people for taking photos with her. Unsurprisingly, this went down about as well as you'd expect.
What if you can't afford it? Then I do apologise. I won't be taking a photo with you. So what I'll do is from now on, I'll hold out a card reader. That's what I'll be doing. And it'll be a £5 a photo. I'll make a
fortune, to be honest. It's a clever way of doing it. And if people can't afford that and they're just gonna, laugh, I'm like, bye, see you later. You know what I mean? Remember, they're the ones wanting my attention, not me wanting their attention. So if they want my attention and they want me so bad, they can pay for it. This is what I do. So if I came up to someone right in real life, right? Hello, yes. So this is a card reader, right?
No way.
I can put in the amount, right? And this is what it does. Watch how cool this is.
Ah.
Wow.
Obviously. Isn't it cool though?
No.
But the controversy didn't end with the paid photos themselves. People quickly began questioning whether she was even authorised to use the card reader she was carrying around. Now, if you guys don't know, a card reader isn't something you can usually just own. As far as we're aware, you generally need to have a registered business in order to get one. However, there honestly seems to be no end to the scams and controversies. One of the biggest examples people still talk about is her GoFundMe campaign. By now we all know Elphaba has a habit of asking viewers for money during her live stream, but she also launched a GoFundMe claiming she needed financial support for hormone therapy to complete her transition. Critics have since alleged that instead of using the money for its stated purpose, she spent it on herself, going on expensive shopping sprees, buying makeup, purchasing luxury items such as Louis Vuitton bags, and according to some allegations, even funding alcohol and drugs. One of Elphaba's donors, a disabled woman, tearfully revealed that she had donated £15,000 to Elphaba, claiming that she had been scammed. However, Elphaba lashed out and denied ever taking that kind of money from anyone.
Ran from a disabled person. I have shown you my receipts. I have shown you my TikTok gifting ranks that people have gifted me on. I have shown you everything I possibly can with not my details showing. Because if my details get shown, then of course my bank's going to be hacked. I'm not stupid, audience. I'm not stupid.
But that wasn't the only controversy involving money. She also previously made a GoFundMe to help her move out.
To know that this GoFundMe is 100% going towards that cause of me moving out, putting a deposit on my home, and then I'll vlog it all. We could do like a moving in thing, like I'll make sure of it, I promise. I triple million% promise that, okay?
The fact that she's had to promise people over and over again while trying to convince them to give her money speaks volumes about the kind of reputation she's built for herself online. And it doesn't stop there. Elphaba has also faced accusations involving charity fundraising. She launched a fundraiser claiming the money would be donated to charity, but she pocketed all of that money too, saying that she was putting herself first.
Just the charity thing, obviously you said that at that time,
yeah,
it was just very stressful for you, and that's why you didn't do that.
It really was, because I was going through quite a lot at that time, and mentally wise, like even struggling with my hygiene and this and that. I mean, it's just a lot I was going through, like even like that was on the last thing on my mind.
People, how it hurt people in a way is that was it the Pokemon cards it was spent on, or like other things?
Yeah, it was. I wasn't thinking, to be honest. I
do think from, people on the other side's perspective, I think that's what kind of made it worse, is that not only was it not, because the premise was that the gifts people donated to you would be given to charities. And I think obviously that was an opportunity lost, and I think it hurt more for people because then you spent it on Pokemon cards, and I think that's where...
The thing is though, I mean, it wasn't just Pokemon cards, it was rent, it was saving up for my transition, which is still there and ready. I was putting myself first, and I was sending money to my family and helping them out because they're struggling. So it wasn't just Pokemon cards, because I was going through quite a lot at the time, and but it was, some of it was going towards spending, and some of it was going towards helping out and real life shit.
She was also accused of misleading her livestream audience through her paid subscriptions. For a long time, her exclusive livestream subscription cost around £5. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the price reportedly jumped to £50, with many subscribers claiming they weren't informed beforehand and only realised after being charged. As always, Elphaba attempted to do damage control by claiming that she had no control over the subscription price.
It was an accident. I can't change it back either, so
I'm gonna probably I'll probably message TikTok like on the support thing and ask if I can change it back.
This is actually a complete lie. Many people quickly pushed back on that explanation, pointing out that creators hosting these live streams can set or manage their own subscription pricing. So when that explanation failed to convince people, Elphaba began encouraging viewers to subscribe by claiming that anyone who joined her $50 subscription would receive all of her attention.
I'm trying to have tiers, so £50 one, it is literally like full attention of me. Like, you get me. Like, that's all you get. Like, that's all I can offer you.
Oh God, who does she even think she is? We mean, she clearly thinks she's something. Just look at the way she constantly checks herself out whenever she's on camera.
I've done it both ways. I've done it wrong and I've done it right. You know, I say my mind, that's the problem. People don't like me saying my mind. I'm very blunt, so I can't help it. Like, I'm generally just like, oh my God, my hair is stunning. Sorry. But like, you know, oh my God.
Emily, Kayla.
Hell yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I'm just gonna take down my friend's number.
No, of course. Oh my God, my hair. My hair's growing, girl. It's just growing. Holy shit. She's growing. Sorry, guys. I'm just very shocked about my hair right now. Not gonna lie to you.
Yo, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Nah, it's chill. Don't worry. Like, I'm just, you know, I'm a chill person when people get to know me.
And if that still isn't enough to show you just how self-obsessed Elphaba can be, here's a clip of her comparing herself to the Kardashians.
I'm famous through drama, but let me just say this one thing, right? You know, celebrities, right? When you talk about Kim Kardashian or anyone, they have gotten really huge from something.
And if that still wasn't enough, Elphaba has also said that women are jealous of her because she's supposedly capable of stealing their men.
I think they see me as competition. They might steal their man.
Now, we honestly don't even know how to respond to that. On one hand, it's incredibly delusional. On the other hand, it's also unintentionally hilarious, because if you've seen some of her interactions with men online, you'll quickly realise reality paints a very different picture. But that brings us to another fascinating chapter of today's story, Elphaba's love life. Now, despite presenting herself as some kind of irresistible heartbreaker, Elphaba's dating history has been, let's just say, less impressive than she'd probably like people to believe. Over the years, she's been linked to only 2 people, with names like Luke occasionally popping up in conversations online. But the first relationship that most people actually remember was with a guy named Wes Bradley. And trust us, this relationship is every bit as bizarre as you'd expect. Back in 2023, Elphaba seemed determined to find herself a boyfriend. If you watched her live streams around that time, you'll probably remember what can only be described as her boyfriend era. She constantly talked about wanting a relationship, flirted with practically anyone who gave her attention, and every few days it felt like viewers were hearing about yet another potential love interest. It honestly became a running joke within the community. Eventually she met Wes, and it honestly looked like a paid partnership. Regardless, Elphaba said the two started dating, and she couldn't stop talking about him. She'd tell viewers how amazing Wes was, how much she liked him, and how happy she finally was to have found someone.
Well, he's chosen me to get me. I love people, I'm very grateful for a guy to choose me.
Unfortunately, the honeymoon phase didn't exactly last. In fact, we're pretty sure their entire relationship lasted about as long as a carton of milk left out in the sun. Almost immediately after announcing they were together, Elphaba appeared on a live stream with Wes and another girl. While Elphaba was busy doing her makeup and talking to the camera, viewers couldn't help but notice Wes and the mystery girl sitting extremely close together, laughing, joking around, and looking significantly more interested in each other than they did in Elphaba. The entire live stream was painfully awkward to watch, and the chat immediately began questioning what exactly was going on.
Under it and such. I didn't expect it.
The Russ was just way too friendly.
Jimmy. So funny. Hi guys.
You should change your Instagram name to Edna.
Edna's.
Honestly, if secondhand embarrassment were an Olympic sport, this live stream would have won gold. And then came the plot twist. Almost as quickly as the relationship had begun, it was over. Just a day later, Elphaba announced that she and Wes had broken up, explaining that the attention from social media was interfering with his personal life and their relationship.
Serious. I'm going to turn the comments off. We've unfortunately had to not carry on because we've made it public, right, that it's now affecting his personal life. We should have just kept it private. This is why I don't like relationships so much.
So after weeks of searching for the perfect boyfriend, the relationship lasted roughly 24 hours. But if you thought Elphaba's search for a boyfriend ended there, you'd be mistaken. In 2024, she was claiming to have found another boyfriend named Cobain. In fact, during a Valentine's Day livestream, Elphaba proudly told her audience that her boyfriend had given her a keychain as a Valentine's gift.
So I met Cobain because you know Cobain, right? He's actually was gifting me and stuff like that, right? And we're dating now, we're talking. Do you want to see? I'll take the first person out, obviously, but this is me and him. Wait. I'll show you, hold on.
However, that relationship quickly became another source of controversy. Cobain later spoke publicly about the situation, disputing Elphaba's version of events and raising questions about whether the relationship was ever what she claimed it was.
Nah, so basically, I was on a live once with Elphaba. She was doing speed dating. So all the chat was saying, get me in, get me in, get me in. She never got me in. She had me on Snapchat. We spoke. I was in Manchester. She come for a drink, met me and my mate. Then some photo thing, yeah. Some woman that walked around the club with a photo. We all grabbed a photo. Then we got the key rings. She took one. Boom. And so cool. Yeah, she put it on the live saying that we was dating when we was never actually officially said that we was dating or whatever. But yeah, go on.
Kobe, and I have to ask you this question. I need to know. Did Elphaba get it up the window?
Did what?
Elphaba take it up the window.
Nah, you're pushing it, lad.
No, come on. Nah, you have to spill the tea.
Obviously not.
Okay, right, okay. Well, there you go. That's the question everyone wanted to know, mate.
The only place we was in the club, yeah. Or maybe she did film the show. Who knows? Suppose you'll never find out.
We're not going to dive too deeply into that story just yet. What we will mention is that during a later live stream, Cobain was apparently in Elphaba's chat, and she seemed furious, making it clear she had absolutely no interest in getting back together.
Oh, look who's back. No, I don't want anything to do with you. No. Stop sending me gifts. Cobain, stop sending me gifts. I don't want anything to do with you. You've hurt me. You've really hurt me.
As far as we know, Elphaba is currently single. But before we continue with the rest of her story, we need to rewind the clock to where many of her controversies actually began. As we mentioned earlier before TikTok, Elphaba was active on an app called Likey back in 2019. If you've never heard of it, Likey was a short-form video platform that developed a reputation for weak moderation and poor enforcement of its age restrictions. It was during her time on Likey that some of the first serious antics started, despite it becoming public much later in 2023. According to multiple reports from people in the community, she was communicating with minors through direct messages and group chats. The allegations escalated further when Elphaba was reportedly banned from the platform after touching her crotch during a live stream while interacting with minors.
They were once in a group chat with Elphaba on another platform, not on TikTok, and Elphaba thought it was acceptable and didn't know that it wasn't okay, listen to me very carefully, to touch her crotch, to fiddle with her crotch while talking to kids that are underage, okay? I can't even believe I'm saying this, alright? This is sickening, this is grooming, this is everything that is wrong with this app, okay?
And as we continue, we're also going to talk about what happened on her Discord server, because somehow that story manages to get even more disgusting. During our research, we came across a video from someone who claimed to have been in the same group chat as Elphaba. In the video, they show the types of messages that were allegedly being sent in the group chat by Elphaba.
So this was the reason why I was blocked from Elphaba on TikTok. Let's go.
So he was trying to join an app called Likey that I was on. I had about 400,000 followers on it. So he reached out to me and tried messaging me, so I replied, and he just wanted to join the agency I was with so he could get paid to post and also to go live and earn more money as you would on TikTok. I don't even remember how, but he ended up joining a group. There was like 4 or 5 of us. There were mainly girls. So they ranged from 13 to 15 at the time. We were all just friends, just hanging out, talking about the app, talking about people on Likey. So, you know, nothing unusual. And then somehow he ended up joining, and listen to what was said.
I genuinely thought you were allowed to do it because I saw other people doing it, and I was like, they weren't banned for it, so I was like, why not try it? And I got banned for just touching my crotch. I didn't actually show it, but okay.
He saw other people doing inappropriate things in front of kids on a live streaming app, yet he thought it was okay because they were getting away with it.
I was just having fun, and it's like, I swear like he's like an interclass thing anyway, so I got banned for a year, by the way. Yeah, hello. I'm gonna probably start another Likey. I'm banned for a year on Likey for that.
I didn't know it wasn't allowed though, that's what I didn't know.
He was trying to say he didn't know he wasn't allowed to touch himself on a live stream in front of kids. Also, you can see what he was saying. He was talking about wanting to speak to Indians because he was the H word. And yeah, it just didn't make sense. This is what I knew of him before he changed into this and blew up on TikTok.
Honestly, watching those messages was genuinely uncomfortable. And before we even had time to process everything, another clip surfaced.
Do you think, if you thought I was a paedophile, do you think I'd be displaying these behaviours on TikTok live as well? Because paedophilia, I've looked this up right, I've done research, paedophilia is a disorder that can't be helped. It is a genuine attraction to children. And it is, yeah.
By this point, it was becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss everything as internet drama. The allegations people were discussing had become significantly more serious than anything we'd covered up to this point. But then we started looking into Elphaba's Discord server. According to Elphaba, the server had an age restriction. Sounds reassuring, until you find out that the age verification reportedly amounted to little more than asking people if they were over 18 and simply taking their word for it. As you can probably imagine, that's not exactly a foolproof system. As more people began speaking out, videos started circulating that allegedly showed the kinds of conversations taking place between Elphaba and minors inside the server.
Hey.
You excite me a lot. You know you got a really hot face, hot body.
We're not going to lie, this gave us the creeps. But somehow the Discord story gets even more disturbing. According to multiple videos documenting the server, inappropriate content was allegedly being shared in spaces where minors were present. We can't even show most of what was reportedly posted because there's a good chance it would age restrict us. That's how serious these allegations became. Naturally, people demanded answers. A creator on YouTube named Jake Baz even invaded Elphaba's server, and it was a horrifying sight for everyone to see what's going on in there. However, instead of accepting responsibility, Elphaba pushed back against many of the allegations. At one point, she even claimed that some of the circulating voice notes were created using AI, and she contacted 1010 while on live. For many viewers, that explanation simply wasn't convincing. Then came another statement that only added more fuel to the fire. Elphaba argued that because she herself had been 17 at the time, she couldn't get into trouble for talking to minors, since she was, technically, still under 18 herself.
I don't have any memory of this, but even if this was true, those dates, right, I was 17, so I'll be classed as a minor.
But that's the argument many people took issue with. Even if she was 17, the concern wasn't whether she had legally reached adulthood. The concern was the age of the children she was allegedly communicating with. According to those making the allegations, some of them were around 13 or 14 years old, which many viewers found deeply inappropriate, regardless of whether Elphaba had technically still been a minor herself. As the backlash continued, Elphaba eventually acknowledged that she knew there were minors in the Discord server and that ages of many people on her Discord server were not confirmed.
I understand. These people in this group chat were never confirmed to be these ages, and I hope you understand that. They were never confirmed. It could have been Jordan for all we know. If there was no ever confirmation of these people. This is what's more, you know what I mean? There was never confirmation.
Rather than putting the controversy to rest, that admission only raised even more questions about how the server was being moderated and why stronger safeguards weren't in place. And not to mention that Elphaba denied having minors in her Discord server for a very long time. And this is what makes researching Elphaba so unbelievably exhausting. Every time you think you've finally reached the full story, another clip appears, another contradiction surfaces, another explanation changes. At this point, it becomes incredibly difficult to take anything she says at face value because so many previous statements have later been contradicted, retracted, or replaced with entirely different explanations. Whether it's faking hundreds of disorders, questionable financial decisions, or the Discord controversy, the pattern always seems to be the same. Something happens, people call it out, an explanation is given, then later, a different explanation appears. Eventually, the sheer number of controversies surrounding Elphaba caught up with her. The mounting backlash from incidents like these ultimately led to her being removed from Brighton Pride 2023, marking one of the most unhinged moments in Elphaba's story.
So don't tell me to try and control my anger, because that makes it worse. Stay away from me. I can't do it.
By this point in the story, Elphaba's reputation was hanging on by a thread. Between the fake autism controversy, the Tourette's claims, the hygiene saga, the scams, the racist language, and the growing concerns surrounding her Discord server, it seemed like there wasn't a single week where she wasn't at the centre of another controversy, and eventually, it all caught up with her. In 2023, Elphaba was scheduled to perform at Brighton Pride, one of the UK's largest LGBTQ+ celebrations. For anyone trying to build a career as an entertainer, this was a huge opportunity. Brighton Pride attracts thousands of attendees every year, and performing there could have been a massive moment for her career. Instead, it became one of her biggest public humiliations.
I have some news for you. I will be performing at Brighton Pride. Yes, at the bar at Broadway. I'm very excited. So, if you want to come, I will probably, I won't be Elphaba. I won't be dressed green. I will be, probably in a gown or something with my longer hair at the time. So, I'm very excited to announce that I will be performing, at Brighton Pride.
As news spread that Elphaba was set to appear at the event, backlash quickly erupted online. People began contacting the organisers, pointing to the long list of controversies surrounding her. Many questioned why someone accused of lying about autism, repeatedly using racial slurs, and facing numerous other allegations should be given a platform at such a major LGBTQ+ event. The criticism snowballed incredibly quickly. Before long, Brighton Pride released a statement confirming that Elphaba would no longer be performing at the event. For many people online, this wasn't viewed as cancel culture, it was viewed as consequences, because unlike many of her previous controversies that mostly played out on TikTok, this one had real-world implications. For the first time, one of the biggest opportunities of her online career had disappeared because of the reputation she'd built for herself. Unsurprisingly, Elphaba didn't take the decision well, and hence the infamous live crash out.
Due to backlash, I will not be performing anymore at Brighton. Thank you so much for putting up for me. Thank you so much. Things up. So much! People are gonna laugh at it though. Of course they are, because everyone laughs at me. Everyone laughs at me! So I'm just gonna sit here and obviously be more live because I gotta get money, haven't I? You just want me on live. You don't want me doing anything but on TikTok. Smash everything up. I don't find it funny. I know some of you are laughing right now, but I don't find it funny. Because I generally have mental health problems, and when you take that shit away from me, I can't do it anymore.
While this is laughable for the collective internet, we really don't think this crash out was funny. It was very disturbing. Now, as you've probably noticed throughout this documentary, Elphaba's controversies weren't just becoming more frequent, they were becoming more extreme. With every new scandal, the backlash grew larger, the criticism became harsher, and her desperate attempts to stay relevant only seemed to push her further into increasingly bizarre and concerning behaviour. It almost felt like she was trapped in a cycle. As we move into the final chapter of this story, you'll start to notice a significant shift in Elphaba's behaviour. Her live streams became increasingly erratic, her reactions became more unpredictable, and many viewers who had once watched purely for entertainment began expressing genuine concern for what they were witnessing. But before we dive into those incidents individually, we want to show you a short compilation of Elphaba, but it gets worse.
Elphaba moments that just get more unhinged.
Should I do an OF or something? I don't know why, but like, I just feel like a lot of men will subscribe to that.
I wish I was a girl. Get off, Mum.
Everything. All of it. Times.
Find me and I'll find you!
I support Hamas, darling, yes I do. Arrest me from the police. Get the police on me. Arrest me for terrorism.
Now we're finally at the point where we need to talk about some of the people who have had the biggest impact on Elphaba's internet career, more specifically, her ex-friends. Throughout this video, you've probably noticed a recurring pattern. Whether it was Jack or countless others, almost every friendship Elphaba has ever had seems to end the exact same way. It starts with live streams, collaborations, and public declarations about how amazing the other person is.
You come live with me, Elphaba.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Uh-huh.
I won 4 times. You guys are so good. What the hell?
They love you, see? They want to see you battle. They want to see you live back.
Then a few weeks or months later, they're screaming at each other on TikTok Live in front of thousands of viewers. Unfortunately, we're not exaggerating. And perhaps the best example of this is Chelsea Lee Art, better known online as CLA. Now, if you've never ventured into this particular corner of TikTok, trying to explain the relationship between Elphaba and Chelsea is like trying to explain the plot of a fever dream. It's confusing, chaotic, and by the end of it, you'll probably have more questions than answers. CLA, or Chelsea, was once one of Elphaba's closest friends. The two appeared in countless live streams together, constantly making content, arguing with each other, making up again, and somehow turning every interaction into another piece of internet drama.
In the nicest way to put this, I have way more followers and fame than her. And I'm not trying to be rude about it. That is an honest fact. Because I know how to deal with myself sometimes. I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm not famous for the right reasons, but I'm younger and I'm gonna have a...
In one particularly hilarious moment, Chelsea was stopped by strangers on the street and asked if she was Elphaba's mother, Maria. Without missing a beat, she simply replied, yes.
Elphaba's mum.
Am I what?
Elphaba's mum.
Elphaba's mum, absolutely, darling. All right, darling. Yes, darling. Chelsea Lee Art.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Honestly, that probably tells you everything you need to know about the type of humour surrounding this friendship. But behind all the jokes, things were far from healthy. In fact, toxic would probably be putting it lightly. At one point, Chelsea invited Elphaba to stay with her in London so they could live stream together and create content. For a while, it actually looked like things were going well. They were constantly live, their videos were attracting attention, and viewers couldn't get enough of the absolute chaos the two of them created. They were constantly fighting over everything on live stream.
Mine.
No, that's my mum.
This is mine. This plug, this actual plug is mine from mine.
No, look, I got the sticker.
No.
At one point, people even called a welfare check on CLA's house when Elphaba believed that she was being held hostage.
Wrong, I'm in the comfort of my own home. I've done nothing wrong, and the police have got no right to do this to me. Alpha is having a on the toilet.
Who, sorry?
Alpha, I've got her mum on the live. Look, we're TikTok famous. We're both famous. I'm not having this. It's her mum, Alpha's mum. Alpha's from Devon. She's TikTok famous. She's with...
But, as you've probably guessed by now, it didn't last. According to Chelsea, living with Elphaba quickly became too much. She complained about Elphaba's hygiene, said she desperately needed her own personal space back, and eventually kicked Elphaba out of the house altogether.
No, I'm just getting agitated. I've got police knocking my door. I can't cope. Honestly, I can't cope. Maybe she should come home today. Because I'm not going to be able to cope with no more of this. I need my own space back. I need to bath. I need my own place. Yeah. Maybe it's right. Maybe she should come back home because it's doing my... I'm stressed out now from the police. And I need my own space.
No,
I
we're doing what you stressed out.
It's getting on top of me. And plus, because we're both doing a leaderboard, we both want to go live. So it's like, it's too much. And it's too much. I can only deal with so much. You know what I mean? I'm not going to put up with this from even my own son. So fuck it, sweetheart. Because, you know,
no, if it's too
even
much,
with my own son,
After Elphaba left, Chelsea milked this whole situation more for content and started decontaminating her house. And she even admitted that she just let Elphaba stay over for the clout.
I'm going to get way more clout if I stay in here, darling. So I'm a clout chaser. We'll have all the clout chasing of Elfie. Absolutely. True caper, darling. Because I was just thinking, if I let her go, because that's what I was thinking, come back. Affected. Well, I can't let her go until the leaderboard's finished, so she's going to have to stay till Sunday. She's going to have to stay till Sunday. She's got no choice.
Now, don't get us wrong. Nothing we've covered so far suddenly makes Elphaba a good person. Quite the opposite, actually. After everything we've discussed, it's pretty clear that she's one of the most controversial figures we've covered on this channel. But that's exactly what makes Chelsea's appearance in this story so fascinating. Because for what was probably the first and only time, Elphaba found herself standing next to someone who somehow made her look like the more reasonable person. And that's saying something. Chelsea's behaviour was so chaotic, so unpredictable, and so completely over the top that viewers almost forgot who they were watching. For a brief moment, Elphaba, the person at the centre of all these controversies, actually came across as the quieter, more reserved one of the two. As Chelsea started constantly snapping at Elphaba, she used the excuse that she was bipolar.
Sorry about the shouting, sweetheart. Yeah, I'm TikTok famous. #1 in the UK at the minute. So the stupid puts their rankings back on. No one cares about the targets. I need to pay.
I'm gonna put your green screen on.
Alpha, please.
Okay.
Now you know what it's like to be with someone bipolar.
Oh, absolutely.
No one's giving you a tip. I've spent enough money in London. Pay that. Can you do it? Because I'm getting out.
Now, if this were any normal friendship, that would have been the end of the story. But this is Elphaba we're talking about. Because after publicly falling out, the two somehow became friends again. Then they started arguing again. Then they were back on live streams together. Then they were insulting each other again. Honestly, trying to keep track of whether Elphaba and Chelsea were friends or enemies on any given day became a full-time job. One live stream they'd be laughing together. The next they'd be accusing each other of everything under the sun. Then somehow they'd be back making content together as if absolutely nothing had happened. Just take a look for yourselves.
And a drink. And a £43 drink as well.
I paid £180. I paid £20 in 2 taxis. I've let you.
Your gifters paid for that.
I've had to tell you to buy me food. I had to tell you. I said, get your money out and buy me food.
Your gifters paid for that.
I don't care. I'm not your mom. I'm ruthless. More ruthless than Maria could even know what time of day it is. Nostrils. Yes, darling. And now you've ordered a pizza all the way in fucking Canary Wharf. And I live in more or less Victoria, Chelsea. Like, does that make any sense? Because you know it all. You're not bothered about
You're making more noise. You're making more noise than me.
Honestly, after researching this video, we've come to one conclusion. Chelsea deserves an entire documentary of her own. We're not even joking. The deeper we looked into her history, the more bizarre it became. But since this video is about Elphaba, we'll spare you that rabbit hole. For now, the only thing you really need to understand is this. Chelsea gave Elphaba a place to stay. They became one of TikTok's strangest duos. They publicly fell out. They made up. They fell out again, and somehow that still wasn't the end of their story. Because as you'll soon see, Chelsea would continue popping back into Elphaba's life during some of her biggest controversies, proving that in the bizarre world of TikTok live streams, no friendship is ever truly over. But while Chelsea was undoubtedly one of the strangest people in Elphaba's orbit, she wasn't the person who challenged Elphaba the most. That title belongs to someone else, Mama Kaz.
So I was on the phone to London TikTok HQ. They're a part of some Chinese agency. So CLA and Elphaba, right? They're linked to this Chinese agency called Galaxy. Okay, I'm gonna expose everything. So there's a Chinese agency called Galaxy UK, right? They contacted me because they wanted to manage me as well. So like I'm now officially working with London UK TikTok HQ. Okay, TikTok cannot.
If Chelsea represented chaos, then Mama Kaz represented confrontation. Now, believe it or not, Mama Kaz wasn't always one of Elphaba's biggest critics. In fact, just like Jack and Chelsea before her, she actually started off as one of Elphaba's friends. Looking at the way these two interact today, you'd never believe they were once on good terms. But that's become a recurring theme throughout Elphaba's story. Someone becomes friends with her, they defend her, they spend time together on live streams, and then sooner or later,
Mama Kaz, so much. I can't fucking take this shit anymore. Why do any of you think it's funny to hate on me and to destroy my life? I am f***ing done.
everything falls apart. Mama Kaz's friendship with Elphaba didn't survive very long before cracks started to appear. What began as small disagreements gradually turned into constant arguments, until eventually the two became full-blown enemies. And unlike some of Elphaba's other feuds, this one wasn't just petty name-calling. Mama Kaz made it her mission to challenge Elphaba whenever she appeared on live streams. If Elphaba claimed she'd changed, Mama Kaz questioned her. If Elphaba denied another controversy, Mama Kaz brought receipts. And if Elphaba tried to dodge difficult questions, Mama Kaz refused to let her. Needless to say, these live streams rarely ended peacefully. Instead, they usually turned into complete shouting matches, with both sides yelling over each other, while viewers desperately tried to figure out what was even happening.
You don't deserve to talk. You don't deserve to talk. You don't deserve to talk. You're a narcissist and you don't deserve to talk. You don't deserve to talk. You've shown your true colours.
And if you're wondering why CLA always seems to appear in the background of these live streams, you're not alone. Half the time Chelsea would just be standing there watching the chaos unfold, like she'd accidentally wandered onto the set of a reality TV show. Eventually the arguments became so heated that Elphaba broke down in tears during one of the live streams, with Chelsea stepping in to comfort her.
People don't actually realise what they're doing to others. And true is because they're hurting themselves too, and hurt people will hurt people.
Because she's got her roots with her, darling. So don't ever think you can do this, because you know I'm a G, you know, I'll boss you all up. Don't even try it. Don't let them make you cry. You're beautiful. Look at you.
You are beautiful.
They're jealous
okay?
of you, Alpha, because you're beautiful. They're jealous of you. Jealous. Famous.
To be fair, these live streams are incredibly difficult to follow. Most of them revolve around TikTok live battles, where creators compete to earn gifts and climb the rankings while simultaneously arguing with each other. It's honestly sensory overload. One person's shouting, someone else is reading comments, another person is asking for gifts, and somewhere in the middle of all that, an actual argument is trying to happen. Watching hours of these live streams probably qualifies as psychological warfare, so we've done our best to condense everything into something that actually makes sense. But despite all the noise, one thing became very clear. Mama Kaz consistently called Elphaba out over the same issues we'd already covered throughout this video. She questioned the fake autism and Tourette's claims. She confronted her about the allegations involving minors. She criticised her hygiene. And unlike many others, she wasn't willing to let Elphaba simply change the subject whenever the conversation became uncomfortable.
Alright.
Let me know when you're ready.
Alright guys, I want you all to be watching this, okay? Before I play this, It is sickening. It generally is sickening, and it needs to stop. Remember, this isn't the first time, guys. Please, 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 when you watch this, keep in mind that, you know, I was the one that exposed, and she got caught out for talking to underage people while fondling herself, talking about things with underage kids in group chats. Okay, so that's already come to light. Then we've got her following list full of underage people. Then we've got people that gift her full of underage people. Then she's been caught on other social media sites engaging with underage people. Enough's enough now. In my eyes, you're displaying predatory behaviour, and it has a detriment effect on the community that I support and represent. So yeah, that's it said. I want to Amy, my darling.
It looks like Elphaba didn't stop after she was caught befriending children on Roblox. She's now been caught adding children on Movie Star Planet. Here is proof a 15-year-old boy added her. Now we wait to see if she adds back. What a surprise, she added him back, when his username has 2010 in it and his bio has 14. She keeps standing near the boy and then dances in front of him. She then asks kids for star greets, which you have to pay real money for. This second child says he has school tomorrow, and Elphaba added him as a friend.
Now, whether you agreed with Mama Kaz's approach or not, one thing is undeniable. She was one of the few people who repeatedly confronted Elphaba directly instead of simply making videos after the fact. And then, something happened that genuinely surprised us. In late 2023, Elphaba uploaded a public apology directed at Mama Kaz.
Mama Kaz, well, we were friends, and I was kind of, well, I mean, we were in and out. I mean, I met her first. We were kind of like a team at first, like against Evil Queen. Do you remember that? We were friends, a team, we were vibes. You know, we actually had some good live streams, to be honest. But the problem is, things got a bit like drama-y with other people, and I just kind of like didn't like that necessarily. And I really enjoyed our friendship, but it just wasn't, like, it didn't feel real. It felt very TikTok-y. So that's all I can say, really. And I was just a blunt person on the podcast and said that she gets involved in too much drama, and I was honest that day. I was very honest. And I'm so sorry if that came out like a bad way, but like I just said that about her on the podcast, and that's what caused our friendship to fall apart, unfortunately. And that's a personal apology to Mama Kaz. Like, I am sorry that you took that the wrong way, and still am. But I'm a blunt person, and that's something I can't help.
Now, when we first heard about this, we thought, finally, maybe this was the moment where Elphaba had reflected on everything that had happened. Maybe she was finally ready to take responsibility. Unfortunately, that wasn't really what happened. The apology itself left a lot to be desired. Instead of acknowledging the specific reasons their friendship had fallen apart, Elphaba largely framed it as a situation where the friendship simply hadn't worked out, and apologised because Mama Kaz had been hurt by everything that happened. For many viewers, including Mama Kaz herself, it didn't come across as genuine accountability. It sounded more like, I'm sorry you feel that way, than I'm sorry for what I did. And that's a very important distinction, because throughout this documentary, we've seen the exact same pattern repeat itself again and again. When Jack spoke out, Elphaba portrayed herself as the victim. When the fake autism controversy exploded, someone else was blamed. When other friendships ended, there always seemed to be another explanation. Someone else was responsible. Someone else had misunderstood. Someone else was the real problem. Very rarely did Elphaba simply say, I was wrong. And that's probably why so many of her apologies failed to convince people. By this point, the audience had heard so many different explanations that trust had completely eroded. But here's something we found particularly interesting. This apology to Mama Kaz wasn't the only apology Elphaba posted around this time. In fact, it almost felt like December 2023 had become her official apology tour. On the very same day, she uploaded another video addressing many of the controversies we'd already discussed in this documentary, including the lies about Tourette's, autism, and several other claims.
And I realise my actions have consequences, and I realise that some things I do online isn't good. Like, I can't even begin to even start with.
and it's just ruining my own life. And I realise that, and I see everything, and I'm an absolute train wreck. I'm a joke. I'm an absolute joke. I am an absolute car crash TV. And I just want to start off by saying I'm really sorry. I really am. To anyone I've ever hurt, to anyone who I've ever caused any hurt to, I'm so sorry.
And I did go out last night, yes I did. I went out for the first time in a week because f*** it, you know what I mean? I wanted just to have a boo.
Unfortunately, even those apologies were met with scepticism, because by now many viewers had reached the same conclusion. It wasn't that Elphaba never apologised, it was that every apology somehow managed to shift at least part of the responsibility onto somebody else. And after hearing that pattern enough times, people simply stopped believing her. Meanwhile, away from all the live stream drama, another problem was beginning to emerge. For the first time since becoming famous, Elphaba's popularity was starting to decline, and she decided to follow back people for just £4.
All the gifts tonight. Oh. I'm gonna sit for corals for now, so if you definitely want to follow from me on TikTok, you want me to follow you? Because everyone comes up to me.
Now, if you've been keeping count, Jack, Chelsea, Mama Kaz, that's already 3 major friendships that ended in complete disaster. At this point, you might think Elphaba would have learned something. Maybe stop live streaming every personal disagreement. Maybe keep some parts of her life private. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be very on-brand, because before long another creator entered the picture. The Evil Queen, and yes, that is genuinely what she goes by. Now, if you're starting to think everyone in this story sounds like they escaped from the set of a Disney movie, you're honestly not alone. Between Elphaba, the Evil Queen, and all the wicked references, researching this video sometimes felt less like investigating TikTok drama and more like trying to understand an alternate version of Oz. Much like every friendship before it, things actually started off well. The two appeared on live streams together, interacted regularly, and seemed to get along without any major issues. But by now you already know how this story ends. Eventually disagreements started creeping in. Small arguments turned into public live streams. Public live streams turned into accusations. And before long the friendship had completely collapsed.
Okay, fine.
She's joking.
Okay.
No, Chelsea, it's £4,000 to get your vocal surgery. She's saying it's more to people when it's £4,000. Thank you, thinking. It's
4.5k. Yeah, I'll try and lunch and try and show Nick go look it up. Galatoplasty as well. 4.5k.
It's £4,000 to get it done, love. I know. I've had it done myself. But it's £4,000. £4,000.
4,500.
4,500, are you saying? So why did you say 20 earlier on?
No, 20k for the whole transition.
I hope someone snipes you here, because I've got a good person here. Adam, this bitch is laughing at me, that's what. So we'll have all the Adam's intervention. Oh my goodness, Peter, thank you so much.
Sorry.
Yeah, be quiet in Chelsea's house.
Oh my god, this is crazy. I'm number 15.
Yeah, but I'm number 9.
You're nothing but a toxic individual. And you know that, and I'm not scared of you one bit. You may be the evil queen, but I'm the wicked witch.
However, probably the most explosive livestream came after Chelsea invited Elphaba back to stay at her house once again. As you'd probably expect by now, things spiralled almost immediately. This time, the livestream also featured the Evil Queen, and what followed was genuinely uncomfortable to watch.
Me, right?
Oh, isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah, but she's getting a lot of hate now because
We'll have all the hate. Elphaba, tell them what Miss Red said.
Miss Red is actually on my side.
About
Jenny Johnson.
What did she say?
She says that she disagrees with Jenny Johnson's actions.
Yeah, in regards to
me being called a
doxed by Jenny, and she's not associating with Jenny anymore because she's trolled Elphaba and doxed and everything. Thank you, Matthew, and she's seen enough evidence to satisfy loves.
No, respect, Miss Red, I will say that.
Yeah, she said she said about the whole Jenny situation. So she's not talking to Jenny no more.
Throughout the stream, the evil queen repeatedly shouted at Elphaba, hurled personal insults at her, and made several deeply disturbing comments. At one point, she even said that she hoped Elphaba would be SA by every man she met. She also made repeated comments about Elphaba's body and genitals, with the entire conversation quickly descending into behaviour that was honestly disgusting.
Lied about autism. You lied
Emily.
about having
Oh my
Tourette's.
God, thank you,
You
Risha,
lied
I love
about
you.
being essayed.
Tony,
You lied
thank you, Bree, thank you, I love you.
Whatever your opinion of Elphaba may be after everything we've covered in this documentary, we truly believe that EQ might actually be really evil. The situation became so hostile that, at around 2:30 in the morning, one of Elphaba's friends stepped in and booked her a hotel room so she could leave the house. She called an Uber, gathered her belongings and left in the middle of the night. But unfortunately, the drama didn't end there. After Elphaba had left, the evil queen allegedly revealed the location of the hotel during a live stream and encouraged her supporters to contact the hotel in an attempt to have Elphaba's reservation cancelled. If you've ever looked into this corner of TikTok yourself, you'll know that there are countless clips of this entire saga floating around online. The live streams went on for hours, with arguments, insults and accusations flying in every direction. If you're interested in seeing every minute of the chaos, there are plenty of videos documenting the entire ordeal. But since this documentary is focused on Elphaba, we're not going to spend hours dissecting everyone else's behaviour. That being said, there's one thing we do want to make clear. After researching this story, we genuinely think the evil queen may have behaved even worse than both Elphaba and Chelsea during this particular saga. Now that's not to excuse any of Elphaba's actions, far from it. We've spent this entire documentary discussing her lies, controversies, and the many reasons people have criticised her, but none of that justifies wishing SA upon another person or subjecting them to that level of verbal abuse. To make matters even more bizarre, the evil queen later claimed that everything she had done was supposedly to repair Elphaba's image.
You can see, can't you? I never do nothing for no reason. So the smart people are the ones who say, yeah, you know what I mean, I know exactly what she's doing and all that. I'm repairing Elphaba's image, you know, and I'm gonna go and meet her on Friday and we're gonna go on night out. So imagine the transfer of viewerships and stuff. So obviously I don't need her for clout or any of those things, but I'm gonna naturally gain from that. And I actually enjoy my friendship with her as well, so it's good for me, my platform too, you know what I mean? So I don't ever think that I'm just this silly person or that. Of course I know what's going to come with it, with linking up with Elphaba. You know, we'll have all the content, all the views, we'll be all over the FYP. So it's a really big deal for my image and stuff, and if I link back up with CLA, that'll be another big thing. So I'm literally just thinking in a long term. And I want to provide.
We're honestly not sure how wishing something so horrific on another human being is supposed to improve anyone's public image. At this point you might be wondering, how does someone manage to survive this many controversies? Fake disorders, scams, failed friendships, being removed from Brighton Pride, countless public feuds. Surely after all of that, most people would take a break from social media, maybe disappear for a few months, reflect on everything that's happened, come back with a fresh start. But if you've made it this far into the video, you already know Elphaba doesn't exactly make predictable decisions. Instead of stepping away from the internet, she did the exact opposite. She live streamed constantly, and over time those live streams became increasingly difficult to watch. Now before we continue, we want to be clear about something. Mental health is an incredibly serious topic, and we're not here to make fun of someone who's genuinely struggling. If someone is going through a mental health crisis, they deserve compassion and appropriate support. However, when those struggles are repeatedly broadcast to thousands of viewers, many of whom are children, it inevitably becomes part of the public conversation, and that's exactly what happened. Throughout 2024, Elphaba's live streams became noticeably more erratic. Viewers frequently described them as chaotic, confusing, and at times genuinely worrying to watch. But things escalated further when Elphaba appeared online and claimed that she would be unaliving herself on TikTok Live.
Exactly. You won't. You won't, because you're a coward. You're a f***ing coward. Message me, Emily, nothing's gonna change, babe. Everyone hates me. So what is actually the point? What's actually the point? I am so exhausted from being strong. Everything. I'm just tired. And you know what? I'm getting everyone hating on me. And I'm very triggered right now. And I just want to die. So let's do it. Come on my live and do it. And I'll happily do it to myself. No, I won't stop. Because you know what? I have been through 3 years of people trying to dox me, call me stuff that I'm not, frame me online. I want that to end. I am so done with it all. I'm really done. I don't care if my mum's watching, Mum. I'm done, Mum. I'm really f***ing done. F***ing coward. Molly A. No, she f***ing didn't, darling, because she said she would show her face and she's got chocolate buttons ready to see it happen. Well then, show your face, say it to my face, say how I'm gonna do it, and I'll do it. But no, I'm not gonna show my face. You're a f***ing coward.
Thankfully, no serious injuries were reported, but rather than bringing the controversy to an end, it sparked an entirely new debate online. Some people argued that the live stream demonstrated someone clearly struggling and in need of help. Others believed the situation had been exaggerated for attention. And as with almost every controversy surrounding Elphaba, the internet immediately split into opposing camps. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last time Elphaba did something like this. By this point, something had changed. People weren't just tuning in because they expected another argument or another bizarre controversy. Many were watching because they were genuinely worried about what might happen next. But here's the thing, none of these incidents seemed to change anything. After traumatizing hundreds of people, Elphaba was back on the internet, dancing and going out. Honestly, at this point, we don't even know what to say anymore. It almost felt like every controversy simply became another chapter in an endless cycle that never really ended. There was never any real reflection, no meaningful break from social media, and certainly no indication that things were slowing down. If anything, they only got worse. Her online behaviour became increasingly erratic, and many of the habits we'd already talked about throughout this documentary only seemed to intensify. Whether it was making questionable claims, inserting herself into situations she had nothing to do with, or creating yet another controversy, it felt like there was always something new happening every single week. And speaking of questionable claims, let's talk about one of the strangest recurring themes in Elphaba's online career, her apparent habit of inserting herself into major public events. You guys probably remember the Brighton Pride controversy we talked about earlier, where she ultimately lost the opportunity to perform and behave like a normal human being. Well, that wasn't the end of it. In 2024, Elphaba once again found herself at the centre of another Pride-related controversy, this time involving Preston Pride. She went online claiming that she had been booked, invited, and was set to perform at the event, speaking about it as though everything had already been confirmed.
I'm still performing then. Guys, if you want to come, I'm going to be performing at Preston Pride, which is amazing. Very excited. I think I might obviously sing Defying Gravity. Obviously. When? Not fully sure, but all of you need to come and see me. I think it's a must.
But there was just one problem. According to Preston Pride spokesperson, none of that was true. A spokesperson for the event publicly addressed the claims, explaining that Elphaba had never been booked, had never been invited to perform, and had no official involvement with the event whatsoever.
A certain individual, which we'll keep nameless because we don't want to be about that, but the person who is going around saying that they are booked and confirmed by us and have had correspondence with Preston Pride has not. This individual has not been booked by us and is not appearing at Preston Pride whatsoever, so absolute.
Now, you'd think that would be an isolated misunderstanding. Unfortunately, it wasn't. As we continued researching, we found several other instances where Elphaba appeared to insert herself into events she wasn't actually involved in. One example involved a trans rights protest, organised by a creator named Jackson. When the protest began gaining attention online, Elphaba started talking about it on her own platforms, giving many viewers the impression that she had helped organise the event or played a significant role in making it happen.
People, I don't care who you are, if you're trans, you join me. I'm doing it. Because you know what? I'm sick of bullies, okay? And if loads of people in the government see that and they're like, holy okay, I'd go on my own. I would say, do you know what? I'm going to do this.
However, the person who actually organised the protest later spoke out and clarified that Elphaba had no involvement in planning the event whatsoever. In fact, while the protest was taking place, Elphaba wasn't even there. She was live streaming from somewhere completely different.
In response to the comments that have been made by Rishi Sunak and the Conservative government, I feel and my management feel that something needs to be addressed. I want to put it out that it's me and my management team who are organising, hosting this on Wednesday. Had crazy amount of messages from people worrying about a certain trans influencer named Elphaba. We've been made aware that this person is broadcasting that they have organised the event and they are very much involved, and they are at the forefront of this day of action on Wednesday, and I want to categorically say that that is absolutely not the case. This person consistently brings the transgender community into disrepute.
And then came the Wicked premiere. Honestly, if there was ever an event that Elphaba desperately wanted to attend, this was it. The release of Wicked in late 2024 was a huge cultural moment, and considering that Elphaba had built much of her online identity around the character from the musical, it's hardly surprising that she wanted to be there. The only problem again, the premiere was invitation only. That didn't stop her from talking about it constantly. For weeks she repeatedly mentioned how badly she wanted to attend, bringing it up during livestream after livestream, and making it clear that getting into the premiere had become one of her biggest goals.
Fortunately, because of my behaviour at Greg's, I will not be attending the premiere of Wicked. Thank you guys. I fucking lied to you about going when in reality I'm not. It's not fucking fair. I wanted to go but now I can't go.
Things escalated to the point where, according to reports, Universal Music removed her cover of Defying Gravity from Spotify, and then she lied about it live.
Really taking it down, and we're going to sort things so it's all good. So, because haters want to ruin everything for me, they want to try and ruin everything, they want to get me into trouble and things like that. So, the song has been removed temporarily, analysing things legally, and that's how it is.
But even that wasn't enough to convince her to move on. Then for a brief moment, it looked as though she had finally caught a lucky break. Another person named Talia revealed that she had received an invitation to the premiere and offered to bring Elphaba as her +1. For a short while, it genuinely seemed like Elphaba was going, which horrified a lot of people. She even got pretty emotional during her live over the prospect of going.
I didn't think, I never thought in my entire life would I ever get a chance. I never, ever. I've loved Wicked since I was 8 years old. I've loved it since I was a child.
Until the organisers reportedly made it clear that they did not want Elphaba attending the event. As if that wasn't embarrassing enough, an official statement was later released addressing the situation. It read, "Our fans and the community they create and foster are very important to us. Wicked across the globe has no affiliation with this fan, nor do we endorse any of their actions or statements." Now, most people would have probably accepted defeat at that point, not Elphaba. And if all of that wasn't enough, on the night of the Wicked premiere itself, people who were actually attending the event began live streaming parts of the premiere. Elphaba watched those live streams in real time. As she sat there watching everyone else experience the event she had spent months desperately trying to attend, she became visibly emotional and upset.
Great. I hope everyone's having a incredible time. I just want to tell everyone out there to be kind to each other and to be nice to each other and to not believe everything you see online about someone. But these are tears of strength. I've been through so much. I've been through so much shit. So much shit. I've been through so much, man. So much.
But even after being banned from the event, she still didn't stop. Instead, she continued trying to interact with members of the Wicked cast whenever she had the opportunity. She attended another event where she was permitted to be present, dressed as Elphaba, and later claimed that Ariana Grande had waved specifically at her and that the director had called out her name, which is admittedly a little confusing, considering she was literally called Elphaba.
I just...
There's a lot of big famous people here who are recognising me. I just got paparazzi looking like this. No! Wow. I'm in shock. The director of Wicked said my name and spoke to me. I'm gonna try and find the footage.
I don't understand why, I just don't. Why am I doing this?
We mean again. What exactly does she think she is? Throughout the entire live stream, Elphaba kept insisting that people were recognising her everywhere she went, staring at her and asking to take photos with her. Now don't get us wrong, it's entirely possible that some people did recognise her, but let's be honest, if you saw someone walking around dressed head to toe in bright green makeup, dressed as Elphaba from Wicked, you'd probably look twice as well. Not necessarily because you know who they are, but because it's not exactly something you see every day. And if the green makeup wasn't enough to turn a few heads, the constant live streaming, talking loudly to a phone, and generally drawing attention to herself probably didn't help either. So yes, people were definitely looking, we're just not entirely convinced they were looking for the reasons she thought they were, but perhaps the most awkward moment came when she finally managed to meet one of the people associated with Wicked Laura. She got a photo with her, which on its own is completely normal. However, things reportedly became much more uncomfortable afterward. According to multiple accounts, Laura had invited some fans to an exclusive after party. Elphaba wasn't believed to have been invited, yet she still turned up anyway, and repeatedly attempted to get Laura to appear on her live stream. Needless to say, that didn't go particularly well. People at the event reportedly recognised who Elphaba was and were already familiar with many of the controversies surrounding her, as well as her repeated attempts to interact with members of the Wicked cast. Eventually, security intervened and Elphaba was asked to leave the event. What followed was yet another emotional live stream, during which she broke down crying and portrayed herself as the victim of the situation.
I'm going. Thank you so much for me. Thank you, thank you. I don't want to be a problem.
I can't help I got starstruck in front of Laura Pick, and I just wanted to come and support, that's all. I know people call me a stalker, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean I just love her singing and I support her role.
Well, honestly, this entire saga perfectly sums up Elphaba's online career. Time and time again, she found herself trying to force her way into situations where she simply wasn't wanted, only for things to end exactly the way you'd expect. By this point, her reputation had become so controversial that organisers, creators, and even public events wanted to distance themselves from her. But rather than recognising why that kept happening, she seemed to convince herself that everyone else was the problem. And that's probably the biggest tragedy of this entire story. Because if there's one thing we've learned while knowing Elphaba, it's that no matter how many controversies she becomes involved in, no matter how many opportunities she loses, and no matter how many people walk away from her, the cycle never seems to stop. Now, with that being said, there's another controversy that we came across while researching this video, one that unexpectedly resurfaced during one of Elphaba's live streams with none other than Jeffree Star. And if you know anything about Jeffree Star, you already know that whenever he's involved, things rarely stay normal for very long. The topic we're talking about is what many people online refer to as Elphaba's slime photos. Now, when we first heard that term, we had absolutely no idea what people were talking about. Slime photos? It honestly sounded completely random, but after digging a little deeper, we discovered that there is actually a niche adult fetish involving slime. The photos in question allegedly showed Elphaba covered in slime in a way that many people online categorised as adult or fetish content. We're obviously not going to show those videos here. According to discussions online, the images were originally shared privately before eventually making their way onto other parts of the internet. Exactly how they spread isn't entirely clear, and there are conflicting accounts about where they first originated. Elphaba later addressed the controversy herself. During a live stream, she stated that the images had been recorded when she was 17 years old, and argued that anyone continuing to share them was distributing CP.
And let me tell you one thing, okay? These slime pics that people are sharing on the For You page is child porn. You are sharing that without knowing, okay? So if you're going to share that around online, you are sharing child porn. Delete that. The one I bent down like that, that's when I was 17. And that got leaked from someone I sent to an adult who groomed. I got groomed when I was 17, okay? But I'm not telling you that because, what's the point? You know what I mean? But that's been leaked all over TikTok, my slime kink. So, you know, I just make a joke out of it now.
but what you're sharing is underage. So don't be sharing any slime pics on your accounts, guys.
Now, we're not going to speculate beyond that. If those images were indeed created while she was under 18, then we certainly don't think they should continue circulating online, which is exactly why we've chosen not to display them in this video. However, the controversy resurfaced once again during a live stream featuring Jeffree Star. At one point, Jeffree referenced the infamous slime photos, catching Elphaba completely off guard.
I gotta say on that one, be honest, I'll say how it is, you know.
Love the UK. I sleep with a few soccer players out in Manchester.
Oh, I love that.
After this, I might need some slime, baby. Yeah. I think I'm gonna need some slime.
The exchange was incredibly awkward. Although Elphaba laughed during the live stream, she later admitted that the interaction made her uncomfortable. She explained that she felt pressured to impress Jeffree Star because of his celebrity status, and even claimed that she ended up gifting him around £400.
And I didn't even... Yeah, just a lot of money.
Honestly, sometimes researching this side of the internet feels like stepping into an entirely different reality. Every time we think we've reached the end of the rabbit hole, it somehow manages to get even stranger. And as if everything we've covered so far wasn't enough, Elphaba's live streams have only become more erratic over time. If you compare her recent broadcasts to the ones from a few years ago, the difference is not a lot actually. She's always been like this. More recently, viewers have seen her shouting at the camera, throwing objects during live streams, and completely losing her temper over relatively minor situations.
Do I f***ing scare you? Try me! You try me! I'm not going anywhere! Because I'm fed up to God of the shit! And yes, I'll tell the police I threatened her. Happily, in a manic episode. So do it. Use that for your stuff. Because you know what? I am done with everything. I am done with people trying to find me as a target. I'm done with people calling me a funny. You'll find this hilarious, aren't you? You'll find this hilarious. No one gives a about me. No one gives a about me. Do they?
And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Around the same time, Elphaba also found herself in another very public fallout, this time with a creator named Daryl, someone who had previously been friends with her. Now, by this point, this probably shouldn't surprise anyone. If there's one pattern we've noticed throughout this documentary, it's that Elphaba has an incredibly difficult time maintaining friendships. Whether it was Jack, Chelsea, Mama Kaz, or countless others, almost every friendship seems to end the exact same way. Daryl simply became the latest addition to that list. The drama began when Elphaba uploaded a video accusing Daryl of harassing her and being obsessed with her.
I don't follow him. It says follow back. He's obsessed with me. Okay? That's it. That is it. I cut him off. He still follows me. That's it. Okay? So, it's technically harassment at this point. I've moved on from him.
As you can probably imagine, things escalated almost immediately. Before long, the arguments had become so ridiculous that Elphaba publicly announced she wanted to have a boxing match with Daryl. Yes, an actual boxing match.
Like that in the face. But I'm a sweetheart, so. I mean, and then there's also like self-defense like this. And then, you know, I mean, when it comes to it, my instincts do kick in. Your oyster calm is seriously run low. I will actually do it. I will.
But somehow the situation became even stranger. During one live stream, Elphaba admitted that she was romantically attracted to Daryl, despite openly acknowledging that he is gay. We genuinely don't know what to make of that. At the same time, she repeatedly claimed that Daryl was obsessed with her, even though, from the outside looking in, many viewers felt the fixation appeared to be going in the opposite direction. Things only became more controversial when Elphaba claimed that Daryl had lied about allegations involving abuse from an ex-partner, Charlie. Then, only moments later, she began talking about how strongly she supports survivors of abuse and traumatic experiences.
Daryl's, in the most respectful way, I don't think he went through that. And that's just my opinion, okay? That's my opinion.
I know Charlie. I know him. He can't even harm a fly. Daryl's more likely to be more aggressive towards him because Charlie is tiny. I'm gonna say that right now. Who cares? Move on. We'll go through shit, but who? Come on, just block people, please. Can't be arsed. That's awful. I don't really care. I don't want sympathy or empathy. I don't care. We'll go through shit. Let's not compare traumas. No, don't compare traumas. Don't bring it onto my live stream and then say it out in front of thousands of people to get sympathy. And lie.
Honestly, the contradiction was hard to ignore. On one hand, she was saying survivors deserve to be believed and supported. On the other, she dismissed Daryl's account almost entirely based on what she described as her own intuition.
This is a thing for me personally. My gut instinct and my intuition, and if I know the person and if I know both people at once and this, that, and the other, like, yeah, to be wrongly accused of something like that, like, because Charlie, I know Charlie couldn't even hurt a fly. He couldn't hurt a fly for one.
According to Elphaba, she simply didn't believe him because she had a feeling he wasn't telling the truth. That's an incredibly serious accusation to make based on nothing more than personal instinct. Unfortunately, the questionable claims didn't stop there. At one point, Elphaba posted what appeared to be a photo from a hospital, leading followers to believe she'd been admitted for medical treatment. However, internet users quickly began investigating the image and claimed it was actually a stock photo that could be found online. If that's true, it's yet another example of why so many people struggle to trust anything she posts. More recently, Elphaba also appeared on a reality-style internet show known as the Crazy Cow Competition. We watched it, and honestly there isn't much to say except that she won. It's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. More chaotic live stream content, more internet drama, and more of the same behaviour we've already spent this entire documentary talking about. So rather than spending too much time on that, we want to talk about yet another bizarre series of incidents involving the police. One of the first started while Elphaba was sitting on a bus. Someone nearby took a photo of her and later uploaded it online. Elphaba became extremely upset about the situation, went live to complain about it for what felt like the better part of an hour, and eventually said she was contacting the police because she believed she was being stalked and harassed.
Bus and someone took a fucking photo of me on the way home. Imagine that's a workspace. And then she
Well, we don't understand. If she thinks of herself as such a big celebrity, she could know that celebrities get their pictures taken in public all the time.
Can you... Okay. Thank you. Right, I'm going to say it again. So today, I was on the bus and I was basically just living my life. Not online, by the way. Not online. So I wasn't even live, I wasn't even doing anything, do you know what I'm saying? But this person had like a weird vibe, and I knew it. And I was sat on the seat and I was just like, because she stood really close to me, and I was like, I don't like that, you know what I mean? Like, it felt a bit weird. Please in the future, if you do watch me on TikTok and you want a picture, just please ask. You don't have to, but I don't get why you have so much interest in taking a photo of me if you're not going to ask. That's what I kind of don't understand. Because if I was to do the same thing to that person, then I'd get shit. But to take the photo of the bus as well that I'm on, like, she literally went right in front of the bus, but on the sidewalk, and just went photo of the bus straight away. Like the number and everything. And I was like, why do you care where I'm going? That's so weird. So that concerned me a bit, because I was just living my life peacefully. I was listening to Ariana Grande, I was doing my thing, and then out of the blue that just happens, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what you do? Like my genuine answer is, why are people doing that?
Like, why? What's the reason for it? It doesn't benefit you, you know? So, and then I come home and I see over 100 photos spammed in my comment section from one account of me having a photo taken of me on a bus. Like, that's so... Please, in the future, don't do that, because it does look a bit crazy. And if you do want a photo of me, I won't say no most of the time. I am quite a nice person. I'm quite shy in real life, so tend to be quite shy. I keep myself to myself.
Now, if this had been an isolated incident, that would be one thing, but it wasn't. On another occasion, Elphaba became angry after someone walking past her blew a horn at her. This was it. This was all this person did. We mean, she didn't even flinch, but she later went on to say that she was scared and even allegedly said that this person threw a brick at her. It's so hilarious. Rather than simply ignoring it, she once again announced that she intended to call the police. And yes, she actually did. She also called the police about some other men who horned at outside Tesco. We are not sure if it's the same incident.
I don't know if you can see me now, it's freaking me out. I've got the police on the way now, the police are on the way. I almost got attacked, and they shouted nonsense at me, and they started putting massive things at me, and he was really tall, and there was two men. It was really fucking scary, and now I've had to call the police. And I'm really... I'm literally like shaking. I don't know if they could attack me, and I was literally really scared. The police are on the way, I've got the number plate and everything. I'm literally shaking right now. The police are on the way, so yeah, they're on the way now.
One of the strangest parts came when officers eventually spoke with her. The entire interaction was live streamed. At one point, while talking to the police, Elphaba suddenly paused the conversation to read and respond to comments from her TikTok chat, almost as though she couldn't decide whether the live stream or the police conversation was more important.
Yeah, could have been reform voters, it could have been, I'm not sure.
So it's election day today.
It is.
And as you mentioned just a moment ago, reform are, would you say, quite anti-trans?
Oh my god, yeah, obviously they are. And so is Labour in a way as well, so.
Which one?
Labour as well. Can you see me put yes to because I'm not sure.
As well as Labour, you said, isn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, it was one of the most surreal things we came across while researching this video, but somehow we're still not finished. Another allegation that gained attention online involved a cleaner who reportedly entered one of Elphaba's properties and claimed to have discovered bottles containing a mysterious liquid. Many people immediately linked this back to Elphaba's earlier admission that she had urinated into bottles rather than using a bathroom.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Yeah, bin.
For your juice.
My juice?
Yeah, the one you told me you have to keep it.
I'll throw it away.
I found another one, I covered it, but it doesn't suit.
Oh, thank you though.
That is just disgusting. It's one thing being gross on your own, but subjecting someone else to this, yikes. And as if that wasn't enough, there were also reports that Elphaba had been living in supported accommodation, despite previously claiming online that she earned a substantial income and didn't need that kind of assistance.
I don't mind me asking, what is the most you've earned in a week? You don't have to answer.
Of course, I mean, I'm more than happy to say that. So the most I've earned is $7,000 a week.
Okay.
Really good.
Wow,
that's not bad at all.
That's not
Okay.
bad. That's
Yeah.
a hard week's work,
It's
is it?
$7,000 a week.
And honestly, we've barely scratched the surface. Covering Elphaba feels like trying to drink from a fire hose. Every time you think you've finally covered all the major controversies, another clip appears, another live stream resurfaces, another bizarre incident gets uncovered. There are genuinely dozens of smaller controversies that we simply couldn't fit into this documentary without turning it into a 6-hour series. At some point you have to stop asking, what's the next scandal? And start asking, how has there been this many in the first place? Now, before we wrap things up, there are just a couple more recent developments that we wanted to mention. For starters, Elphaba herself has admitted on livestream that she faked her meltdowns.
Even though I was doing it for attention, it doesn't make it any more or less fake. It doesn't make it any more or less fake.
She has also recently claimed to have received an autism diagnosis. Now, we can't verify whether that diagnosis is genuine or not, so we're not going to make that claim ourselves. However, given Elphaba's long history of making false medical claims, including previously admitting to faking conditions, it's understandable why many people online have approached this latest claim with a healthy dose of skepticism. And honestly, it does look very sus. And unfortunately, the controversies don't stop there. More recently, Elphaba got cat, or should we say a new cat, because she got rid of the last one, and almost immediately, people began raising concerns about its welfare. Some viewers accused her of attempting to hit the cat during a live stream, although Elphaba later denied those allegations. There were also claims that the cat had fleas and wasn't being properly cared for.
True. So stop with that, please. You think I would intentionally poison my cat? You stupid. Are you actually for real? Are you actually so come on. If I didn't like my cat, I would buy her food, would I? Or lots of toys and lots of food and change her water every 3 days and clean her litter? No. I'm a good parent to her. Leave me alone. Litter is clean. Leave me alone.
While she is saying all of this, she treats her cats like this.
Please. Out of my kitchen. Thank you.
And with that, we finally reached the end of this deep dive into Elphaba. Although, if we're being honest, the end probably isn't the right phrase, because we've barely scratched the surface. There are simply too many controversies, live streams, arguments, and bizarre incidents to fit into a single video. We know there are dozens of smaller stories that we didn't have time to cover, and if you guys would like to see it, we'd genuinely be interested in making a part 2, where we put together a complete timeline of Elphaba's online career and dive into some of the lesser known controversies in much greater detail. But for today, that's where we're going to leave it. This documentary took an incredible amount of time to research. We spent countless hours watching live streams, digging through old clips, piecing together timelines, and trying to make sense of one of the most chaotic internet careers we've ever covered. So if you've made it all the way to the end, we'd really appreciate it if you left a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Do you think Elphaba will ever step away from the internet and break this endless cycle of controversy? Or do you think this story is only going to become even more chaotic from here?